Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first Big Brother Canada 8 podcast of the season. We're going to talk about the new cast, we're going to preview it, and we're going to draft the players. We're going to try and predict who's going to do well, who's going to do poorly. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here, joined with two of my favorite people. I've got Melissa here with me. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm so good. I literally can't stop smiling because I feel like this is always my favorite podcast of the entire season is the draft, because you're learning new people, you're getting excited about the season. It's just a whole world of possibilities is open to us, and so I am very excited.
And also with me is Brent. How you doing, Brent?
I am super excited as well. As I mentioned before we even came on the show, as the chat is just now learning, Taran, you have a new background behind you. It's very, very cool.
I do,
cool.
yes. It's a new background.
The chat says it looks like you're in the DR.
Yeah, very molecular.
I'm in the DR. That's what I got. So, yes, if you are listening along, then you can also find us on YouTube. We are streaming live, and you can see the video, which includes my background. As this is a draft, we will also have a visual to accompany it. You don't need the visual if you're listening along. We will talk about these players, but as we're kind of new to them, and you probably won't be able to know exactly who is who, it is helpful to have a visual guide or aid. So watching the video along is probably a good call here for this one if you want to find us on YouTube. So we are here. We are RHAP Has a Podcast, and we are going to be talking about Big Brother Canada 8 all season long. If you are new to Big Brother Canada, it's the same as the Big Brother US, except there are usually more twists and the cast is usually better. And so we're gonna have some fun here along the way. If you are in the US and you need some help finding out how to watch Big Brother Canada, it's very easy. It's very simple. It's not very difficult. There are just a couple of easy to follow instructions or links or places that you can go. Brent is good about tweeting that out. You can go to hamsterwatch.com. Videobrother.com is another good place to go if you want to watch the show. So check all that out, and feel free to ask Brent for help if you want help. Specifically Brent, he's the guy.
I will help you, and I will also tweet out some stuff. I always tweet it out the week that the show goes live. So I will have information for those of you who want to watch the live feeds, those of you who want to watch the episodes, and those of you who want to watch both. So look for that at One Lucky Gay. All
right. So let's talk about the cast here. We've got 16 new players. It's a little bit more than usual.
Supersize.
Yes, it's a supersized season. We're gonna have a little bit of an extra long season as well. It was Big Brother Videobrother.net, maybe not Videobrother.com. This is why I don't do this. This is why I direct you to Brent, because I tell you .com and it's actually .net, and then I said it was super easy, and now you're like, what, Taran? Come on. So we've got 16 players on the supersized season, and I will say I'm pretty excited about this cast. Overall, I feel very good about it. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to offer, Melissa.
Yes, I'm very excited. I feel like this cast is, this was actually one of the harder drafts that I had to go through, because I can't pick. I feel like there aren't so many. I mean, usually it's very easy to be like, these people are not going to win. There's at least 5 of them that were like, nope, they're at the bottom of the list, and we all know it and we all laugh about it. And then there's a bunch of people that we're all vying for at the front. And then there's just some middle people that were kind of like, whatever. But I feel like this time there's pros and cons to almost everyone. And I could see almost everybody in this cast winning for one reason or another.
Yeah. I have to say that I was on This Week in Survivor with Robin Jordan, little plug there, and we were talking about the fact that I didn't really care for Ben on this season of Survivor because I feel like he's a bit of a follower. I said that there's this myth in reality TV casting where you have to have leaders and followers and you have to have a balance. I said that I find it much more interesting when there's 10 people on a cast and there's 10 people in the kitchen, there's 10 cooks in the kitchen. And I feel like on this season of Big Brother Canada, looking at this cast, they really put on a lot of competitive, hungry people who are all looking to cook their own way. And I am so here to see them elbow each other out of the kitchen to see if they can get things done. I'm really, really excited about this cast. In fact, I don't understand people. I've seen people, my friend Kim Matina from Sequester, I saw people on the RHAP podcast, like Ron Chan, say that they're not that excited about this season of Big Brother Canada because they have, Survivor, and they have Survivor All-Stars, Australia. And I'm like, are you people nuts? Like, this is one of the best cast, if not the best cast ever that we've gotten from Big Brother Canada. Y'all better wake up and stand these people, because I'm excited.
Also, I do want to say that I love that it's an older cast. And I know people are saying, an older cast, these people are like in their 30s and it's the average age is 29. Well, yeah, the average age is 29 and the usual average age is like 23. So I'm very happy that the average age is 29. And, obviously I wish that there was more age range, but at least we have a lot more older people than we usually do. I just feel like we had been seeing a trend of younger and younger and younger. And I feel like now it's, I don't know. I just feel like people play better when they have a little bit more life experience. I mean, we said when Haley was on the show, like, oh, Haley in 5 years, or like Haley in 3 years. Oh, she'll be a great player. And I feel like that's what we're possibly getting here, is people who maybe wouldn't have played so well when they were 23 or 21 or whatever Haley was at the time, and now maybe they are going to play better. So
yeah, think about the person you were when you were 22 years old, and then think about the person you were when you were 27 years old, and how much that little, I know some of you aren't even 27 years old yet, fuck y'all.
I started podcasting at 22 and now I'm 27, so I know, you can literally watch.
Right, exactly. So just think about that.
I applied for the show when I was 23 or something. And I'm like, thank God I didn't go on at that point, because if I got on now, I'd do way better than if I got on then. It would have just been so embarrassing. So yeah, I believe everything you guys just said.
Yeah. Not only age, but knowledge of the show, something that I've definitely harped on for a long time, that I feel like fans of the show are more likely to do better in the show, to play a better game. Most of the people on this cast are fans of the show. I think there's somewhere like 3 or 4 of them were like, oh, I've come to it recently. But most of them are pretty big fans of the show, including some hardcore live feed watchers. So that is very exciting. Now, I do think there's still a big difference between like a fan of the show and a live feed watcher. I think we saw some of that difference last season on Big Brother Canada, but I'm still excited because not only are they fans, which is a big thing, but they are also aggressive fans. They want to get in there and make a name for themselves. They are not the kinds of, seemingly, based on what they're selling us right now, the kinds of fans that are going to be like, well, I just want to get far and make the jury. Like so many of them have said, I want to make a name for myself. I want to be known as somebody that played hard. I think that there are a lot of people who are taking their cues from last season, not in terms of how the Pretty Boys played the game, but in terms of how the Pretty Boys were received by some of the fan base, and they want to have something that's a little more exciting this season, which I think most people agree about.
Yeah, not just the way that the Pretty Boys were received, but how the people around the Pretty Boys were received by the fan base. They look at the people on Big Brother Canada 7 and saw how so many people literally had the Pretty Boys running circles around them, and they don't want to be those people. They are way too competitive for that. And I am so excited about the people on this season of Big Brother Canada.
Yes. So anything else, or are we ready to start talking about these players?
Well, we can start in a second. The chat's asking a couple of questions. To my knowledge, there are no patrons of Rob as a Podcast on this season, and I don't know of anybody in particular who is a fan of Rob as a Podcast themselves, so we're not going to be getting shout outs, but you know what, we get shout outs all the time from people on Big Brother Canada.
After Cliff, we're full.
Yeah, we can
don't
take
need
a
any
season
more
off.
shout outs.
Yeah,
no, that's not true. I love shout outs.
Very much appreciated.
Everyone can shout out Melissa, but Taran and Brent don't need any more shout outs.
Yeah, Melissa's still bitter about Kevin Martin when he was on the show.
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, he was like, it's Brent, and
he
Brent's
had
like,
my name right the first time, and he's like, yeah, it's Melissa, and blah blah blah, I like her, whatever he said, and then like a few days later, he's like, and then some new girl. I was like, excuse me. I had a name 2 days ago, but whatever, Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, well, but you know what? Hey, sometimes they don't say it in like the interviews, and they wait, and then you find out later in the house that they actually are fans of it. So you never know.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. Definitely something that everybody is, on the edges of their seats, waiting to see who's going to shout out RHAP first.
I also see some people in the chat who are saying that their visuals aren't working, that YouTube's not working. I don't know how you can fix that necessarily, but I would go to robasawebsite.com and you can look at the video directly through that. So I don't know how everybody else is doing, but everybody else seems to be doing great. So if you're having a problem, refresh or try Rob's
listen to the mods in the chat. They've got the directions to follow.
Awesome.
But we have a great season of coverage coming for you this season. We're going to be starting Thursday night. Wednesdays, obviously, is a little crowded with Survivor going on. Survivor is airing right after Big Brother Canada. Big Brother Canada airs at 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by Survivor at 8. And then, of course, Rob goes live with the Know-It-Alls right after Survivor. So it's not great timing as per usual for a recap for Big Brother Canada on a Wednesday. But what we usually do is we will talk about the Wednesday night episode the following morning when I do my live feed update, which we will be doing across the entire season, of course. Because let's face it, the live feed updates, that's where the goods are at. So we will be live Thursday night, though, after the eviction episodes, the live shows for Big Brother Canada, and then after the Sunday night episodes, we will be live for a recap as well. And then Tuesday nights, we will have our roundtable where we will have Brent, Melissa, and myself rating the players every single week, talking about the whole week on the feeds, putting everything into context, and playing the Stock Watch, which I have some exciting updates to talk about. Yes, so that's what we've got for you this season, but let's get into the cast. You ready?
Yeah, I'm so ready.
All right, ready? Here's the visual. Boom.
Yes, I don't know how many times we do these things and people write in the comments of the YouTube video, like, it would be really helpful if you guys had a visual. So, because I don't know who you're talking about, it would really, really help. And I'm like, look, we're a low budget deal here. Like, give us a break. We're doing the best we can. And then Taran goes out of his way and has this ready for us. I'm so excited.
Yeah, also people saying, how many people have been picked already? Who's left? What's the deal? So this will be helpful.
Yes. I did forget to ask you what colors you wanted.
It's okay. What am I?
That's
I'm yellow.
fine.
It's too late.
I'm fine with orange.
So we have here, if you are watching along, pictures of the players down along the bottom, and then we will be sorting them out into 3 different teams. There are 15 players, which means we will draft 3 teams of 5 and leave 1 player undrafted in order to give us an opportunity to completely embarrass ourselves.
And that's the people's pick.
Yeah, that's the Tyler Kakuno memorial pick.
Yeah. I believe we talked about this, that Rob actually won the most recent Big Brother 21 draft, I think, if I'm remembering correctly.
Sure.
Neither of these two remember winning. I don't remember winning, so it was probably Rob.
Certainly not me.
And then, so if we go back a little bit further, we believe again that I was the one that won the previous draft before that, when Dane won Big Brother Canada 7. And so I will be choosing the draft order here as we go along. And what I will probably do here is go Brent first, followed by me, followed by Melissa. Then what we do is we have a snake draft, so it will be Brent, me, Melissa, me, Brent, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And the rules of this draft: we are trying to pick the winner. That's all that matters. The Stock Watch is where we get into specifics and details and intricacies. This is all just about trying to find who's going to win the game. And really, it's just an excuse to talk about each individual player as we rank their chances of winning the game. So, all right, Brent, do you have a number 1 draft pick, and is it going to live up to Jose?
Oh, this is so tough because, and I'm going to be very Melissa for a moment. There are 2 people that my heart really wants to pick, and then there's one person that my brain wants to pick. And I do enjoy very much the person who my brain wants to pick. So I'm sort of going back and forth whether or not I could pick them. There's somebody that I could absolutely wow the chat with, where they'd be like, "What the hell, Brent?" But yeah, I feel like I have to do this because I was so impressed by this person. And I really feel like this person has an opportunity to be the winner of this season. And also somebody else who I really like, I feel like will be much further down the list. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick Sheldon as the first pick in my draft. I was so excited to watch this guy in his interview with Ika and his interview with the show. I don't think I've been more impressed by somebody, or I don't think somebody has more exceeded my expectations of what I thought they would be like when I started listening to them speak. I was just so impressed by his knowledge of the game, how he has a view of how he wants to act if certain occasions come up within the Big Brother house, things that he's known to be wary of, things that he wants to be excited about. He's definitely someone who wants to go for the win. And I think it all really brought it into focus for me when he was asked by Ika who his favorite person is, and he said Kevin Martin. And I was like, oh my God, like if you are a stan of Kevin Martin, then I feel like I have to invest some real equity in you. This is also the reason why I felt like I could not wait to pick this person, because I felt like there was a very good chance that Taran would select him with the number 2 pick in the draft, or at the very least, the number 5 pick in the draft. He was still on the board. The other thing is that he is an absolutely massive dude. He is hot, he is sexy, he is big, he is bold. But there are many other people who are big and sexy and amazing and bold on this cast. And he talked about that in his video, where he was like, if there are other guys who are bigger than me, that is great for me, because I don't want to stick out as much as I feel like I'm going to. So I don't know how you couldn't select this guy as the number 1 pick in your draft. He's just head and shoulders above the rest right now.
Yeah. Usually the best strategy for me is to let Brent go first so he can botch the first pick, and then I can get the real first pick.
I wanted to.
Didn't happen this time. Sheldon would have been my pick. I'm very excited to see Sheldon play the game. He is a huge fan of the show, says he watches live feeds a lot. So knowledge-wise, he has definitely got a leg up on a lot of the cast, even if they are big fans of the show. He seems very intellectual. He seems like he really approaches the game from a cerebral standpoint. But as Brent mentioned, he is also extremely physically fit, which normally I'd say this guy is way too the target on this guy. But not only did we just see Dane win Big Brother Canada 7, but we also just saw Jackson win Big Brother 21. But also we see in this cast that a large majority of the men are also quite large and muscular. There aren't a lot of non-muscular men on the cast. So really, the thing that sticks out if you're a guy at this point is if you're like a small guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I totally agree. You make a fair point, Taran. Like, there are so many beasts on this season of Big Brother Canada. We talked about this on the Twitch stream. We're talking about, like last year, Melissa, we had so many contests who were won by Dane and Adam, and, maybe Big Brother Canada would, tamp down a little bit on the physicality of some of their competitions because they were won by these 2 guys. Nope. They decided to just make everybody on the show who looks like Dane and Adam. Like, everybody on the show is an absolute beast. That's how they decided to get around that problem.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have it spot on. I would have picked Sheldon near the top as well. He's near the top of my list. Not number one though, so I will say that. But
so I still have a chance to steal your number one, so none of us get our number ones.
Yeah, exactly. We might all not get our number ones at all.
We also have to figure out who Brent passed on, thinking that we wouldn't choose them. And
Finley.
by them, I mean probably her. And yeah,
I wrote it in the chat, but I don't know.
Chat.
But that could be me just like throwing
I love her anyway.
Yeah, I love her too.
But so I really do like Sheldon, and I think you guys are right in that if on his own you're like, oh, this is a big guy, he's very athletic, et cetera, but in comparison to the other people, I feel like some other people stand out more. Like Kyle, he's got the hair and everything, and he just seems big, and so I feel like you would have your eye drawn to him because he stands out. And then Chris is the beard and the whole thing, so I feel like that stands out. And so Sheldon kind of disappears in the background. And I'm not gonna lie, like on initial watch of all the videos, when they first come out and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna bam go through them so I can know who all these people are, I forgot about him. Like when I was writing out my list of all the different people, I was like, wait, who's Sheldon? What's going on? And so I went back and rewatched all his stuff, and that's when I was like, oh, this guy's impressive. I really like him a lot, and I was surprised by him. So I think it's a great first pick.
Yeah, just his level of control that he at least talks about, like in terms of like not rising to emotion. He talks about he doesn't drink because he doesn't like not being in control, and if other people do drink, he recognizes that he needs to like not be weird about it, right? Like fit in with everyone as they do. So a lot of good things here about Sheldon. I will say the one thing that gave me some pause is that he is 24, which is a little bit on the young side here for this cast. Not by too much, the average age around 28, 29, but it's still kind of young. And if there's anything that's going to get in his way, I think the youth might be it. Melissa, you talked about you trying out for Big Brother at 23, right? I feel like Sheldon at 27, 28 would be a much better pick, much better fit for this cast in particular. So I think if there's anything that we should be a little bit worried about, it's really the age is the thing I feel the most worried about.
Yep.
All right. So I am next, and I did not get to choose Sheldon. Man, that's it's gonna be just like in Big Brother 20 when I wanted to pick Tyler, and then Rob took Tyler, and I was like, the whole season I was just like, ugh. I should have had him.
I thought you were going to say like how you immediately felt when I picked Winston.
Well, that was the issue, right? That I ended up with Winston, not Tyler. So all right. So I don't have Sheldon, but I am gonna get the person who I feel is probably my number 2 pick here on the board. We'll see if she was Melissa's pick, but I am going to go with Brooke.
Yay, Brooke!
All right, Melissa, how do you feel about that?
I like Brooke a lot, but she's not my number 1.
Oh, I really wanted to steal it.
You didn't get it.
So Brooke is a little bit older. She's 26. Also a big fan of the show. I was a little bit skeptical reading the bio, to be honest. But when I saw her interviews, all the interviews that she's done, I was very impressed. She does have a charisma to her. She has sort of like the super fan kind of nerdy girl look to her, I think. But I do think she's got more than like the awkward, and she talks about this. She's awkward, but she's also, got a charisma to her, which as on paper sounds ridiculous, but it's actually true, or seemingly so, at least from what we've seen so far. So the knowledge of the game, the charisma that she has, she talks about how she recognizes what happened last season with the Pretty Boys. She doesn't want to let that happen again. That's actually my biggest worry of her, because there are a lot of like big alpha dudes in this season, and she talks about how those are the people she has the most trouble connecting with. But if they don't succeed, I feel like she probably will. And if she succeeds, then they probably won't. If you're picking a side, I guess I was going to try and get both Sheldon and her, but I'll go with her for now. I just like what she's offering here, Brent.
I do too. I have two caveats that I am worried about her, just to talk about why I would not have selected her with my number one pick. Number one, everybody saw Big Brother 21 in the USA. They saw Nicole, and this girl, while certainly a different person in her own right, does remind me of Nicole with the glasses and the fact that she's a super fan and she's a bit of a cat lady. So I don't love the fact that it immediately brings Nicole to mind when I'm watching Brooke. The other thing is that she was talking about the pretty boys and how she doesn't want to let that happen to her. And given the fact that there are so many alpha dudes in the cast, I worry that she's going to be guilty of fighting the last battle. So often we see this on reality TV where people see something that happened on a previous season and then they'll continue to fight the last battle long after they have to. Like, it may not even be a real thing, and she might cause herself to get into trouble just by bringing it up and worrying people about that, even if there is no pretty boys or alpha alliance out there. So I think she is a good pick. I think she could do well, but she's going to need a couple breaks, I feel like, to get to the end of the game.
I liked her a lot. It seemed like while she has that like super fan nerdy look to her and she talks about it like that, she also got along well with Ica, it felt, and she said she has an easy time getting people to trust her and making friends and all that sort of stuff. So I felt like that was a positive. She knows the game. She seems really intelligent, and I like her a lot. I would say something concerning is, number one, she does have that super fan look about her, and people might see that as a threat. And number two, she says she's not athletic at all. So, I mean, I don't know if that's actually the case. I say I'm not athletic at all. Maybe I do fine on some of these competitions, who knows? But, I feel like that could be a bad thing if she's saying, oh, I'm not athletic at all, and going against all these giant, strong guys. I mean, that's going to be tricky. So we'll see about that. But I really like her a lot, and she was one in my top 3 picks. So
I will say that.
I just really love that your example for somebody who's misleading you when they say they're not really athletic at all is yourself. I say that all the time, but it's actually not very true.
Mine is like actually true. But I think that it's a situation where I might do well on those competitions, but like I wouldn't consider myself an athletic person generally. Mm-hmm. So, but like these competitions, some of them are just like,
competitions are very important, increasingly so in Big Brother US, and it has been that way for a while in Big Brother Canada. So being able to win competitions is not something to overlook here, if you can sort of tell if somebody's going to be good or not. Usually being a big fan of the show.
Cliff won competitions, and look at Cliff.
It's true. It's true. Being a fan of the show, I think, gives you an edge, especially in Big Brother Canada. Being physically fit will also give you an edge. A physically fit fan of the show, Sheldon, could be very good at winning competitions in Big Brother Canada.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about something, Melissa, that I feel like that Nicole, if she had it, she certainly never used it, but I did bring this up on my talk with Taran on the Twitch stream when we first looked at Brooke. Girlfriend is hot. I mean, yeah, she's the nerdy super fan, but she is a hot chick. I really do feel like that she could use her sexuality if she needs to use it to advance herself in the game. And I'm so here for that sort of sexy librarian, motif that we always think about in like reality TV, but rarely see.
Yeah, I love how they're like, yeah, look at this nerd girl, but really she's like super beautiful.
Super beautiful.
Like, okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Brent here to bring up the points that so I don't have to. I also feel like, again, with so many fans in the cast, I feel like being able to relate to other people via being a fan of the show could be a thing. We saw it was a thing last season.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about that as I would have been given the cast that we have.
Yeah. All right, Melissa, you've got 2 picks.
Oh boy.
Who is it gonna be?
All right. So my first pick is Vanessa.
Ooh.
I'm surprised you guys didn't pick her. I thought Taran was gonna pick her.
Tell me why.
She was my next one.
Okay, yeah, the chat was very big on Vanessa. So go ahead and tell me why I should have picked Vanessa with the first pick.
She is, first of all, a big fan of the show. Huge fan of the show.
Okay.
Second of all, she got along really well with Ika in the interview. I mean, at least I got the vibe that she got along well with Ika.
This is the lobster fisherman girl, right?
Yes.
Yeah, from Prince Edward. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that she's athletic. So I feel like she's a triple threat there. She seems intelligent. She seems easy to get along with, and could make good social connections with people in the house. And I really liked her interview. I felt like she was fun, and I couldn't really find anything I didn't like about her. So that's why I picked her.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick. She's also a big fan of the show. She says she's watched every season multiple times. But she does not seem it. Which is great for her.
Awesome.
She has a lot of conflicting parts of her personality. So she is a lobster fisherman. She works in a male-dominated industry, but she is this sort of tiny, very cute, girly sort of looking person who's very bubbly and is not your typical sort of like I don't know who I imagine a fisherman to be, but I don't really imagine them to be Vanessa very often. So she's got that going for her. But she still has a little bit of that sort of like what would you call it, like Southern charm, but from Canada.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, she has a little bit of rural aesthetic to her voice and the way she carries herself that would lead you on an average basis to believe that you could probably trust this chick as opposed to some of the other people in the house who might be like willing to stab you in the back at a moment's notice. I would probably be more apt to trust somebody who is a lobster fisherman who I don't feel like would be overly snaky as opposed to somebody who like lives in the main Toronto area and watches Big Brother Canada on a daily basis. So the fact that she's able to meld the two of those things together is a great feat on her behalf and would serve her well on this cast. I think like personally, I just didn't connect with her as well. And I sort of am biased in that if I can't connect with you on a couple of interviews, then I don't know that the cast is going to connect with you on a couple of interviews. I'm hoping that that's not the case, but that's just how I viewed her. And that's why I had her at like number 5 on my list.
That's actually exactly my one concern with Vanessa is that while I think that on paper she seems perfect, fitting in with the rest of this cast, I don't know if her life experiences match theirs as well. She is around the right age, 26, but if there are a lot of city people in the cast and she's talking about like fishing all the time, then she might not be able to fit in super well right away. I don't think it's going to be a major issue for her. She seems very personable, but I think that Brent is onto something there. If there's anything to worry about at all with Vanessa, I think this might be it. All right.
Good.
Melissa. And Vanessa, not Vanessa Rousseau is gonna have to. Every time I say Vanessa, I still think Rousseau, and so I really have to get that.
Too.
Yeah,
me too. Okay, my next one is I think I'm saying this right, and also this is gonna be a surprise to you guys, I'm sure, because I watched her little party the other night, which I was invited to.
Well, you have a job.
Melissa, you always have an invite.
I'm kidding. I could have like popped in, but I'm just kidding. Don't hate on them, guys.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm gonna pick Rianne. Rianne? Is that how you say her name?
Riri.
Ryan? I keep looking at it thinking it's Ryan, but it's Rianne, right?
I believe it's Rianne.
Yeah, it's Rianne. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I know you guys are gonna be surprised because you guys were saying she was like boring and everything when you're watching your thing.
Number 16 on my list.
With her. I totally connected with her. I thought her interview was really entertaining. I thought that she seemed I don't know. I liked it. I liked what I was watching and I liked her personality. And I think she's competitive and she's smart. And also, I thought it was funny because she said that she didn't like Kayla, but she reminded me of Kayla, which is why I liked her. So I thought that was kind of funny that she's like, oh, I don't like that. I didn't get it. And I was like, that is you. Or at least that's what I'm seeing in you. And that is why I'm liking you. So I hope you're more like Kayla. But yeah, I don't know. I felt a good vibe with her, and I'm hoping that she can do a good job this season.
Yeah, her name is Rianne, and she goes by Riri for short, but I feel like she's more like Scooby-Doo, like Ruh-Roh. Like, I'm not impressed with this chick at all. She bored me to tears when I watched her. And look, I suppose there is a place for boring people in a cast of cooks where everybody is trying to get something done. Maybe someone like this could be useful to somebody like your Sheldon or your Vanessa or other people who we'll get to. But I really feel like she's a fish out of water. I don't feel like she's going to be able to exceed my expectations of her. Although given my expectations are pretty low, maybe she can. But I wasn't impressed watching the video. I felt like that not only was she boring, but she doesn't seem to have the fire that you need to have in a cast that's this competitive in order to win the game. I just don't see it. And I was hoping that after I watched the Ika interview that I would be more impressed by her, because Taran and I only basically watched the little, minute and a half Big Brother Canada global interview that they did, because that's all the time we had. But even after watching the interview with Ika, I was like, this chick blows. So yeah, I don't understand what you see, Melissa. Taran, break the tie.
I like it.
Yeah, I was not super high on Rianne. I think that she could do fine. I think like my biggest worry with her was the amount that she brought up. Now, she, similar to Brooke, talked about gender a bit and how she wants to go after guys and kind of get a bunch of women together to work together. But there was a different energy in the way that she talked about it versus the way that Brooke talked about it to me. And to me, that energy felt very visible. It felt like she was the kind of person to go into the house night one and kind of very publicly be like, hey, women, let's work together. Kind of what we saw from Jess, and get in trouble for it. And I'm worried about that.
It's so interesting because I got the opposite. I got the vibe that they had asked her about, like, well, what about a women's alliance? And she's like, girls got to work together. Like, that's what I saw in the interview. And so I feel like if someone asked me in an interview, what about a girls alliance? I wouldn't be like, oh, no. It's all it's everybody. I'm not going to do that. I'd be like, yeah, of course. Girl power. We got to stick together. Like, of course I would say that in this sort of situation. But I didn't get the feeling that it was as, I just felt like I did. And I also didn't see that in the Ika interview too, with her saying like, I'm only going to work with women. We have to stick together. You see all the guys come out. Like, I never saw that. So I feel like there's a difference between those edited videos where they pick out certain things and they ask them certain questions and tell them to say certain things versus a freeform interview where it's like, what's your strategy? And then if she were to have said, I'm only going to work with women, I want to get these guys out, that's where I would be a little bit scared, but I didn't see that. So that's why that didn't scare me so much.
And that is fair. I could definitely be wrong about it. In fact, I hope I'm wrong about it. And honestly, even if I'm not, I had the same criticism of Adam last time for wanting to work with the boys, and look how that turned out. So
we were like, that's never gonna work, Adam.
Right? I was like, again, so public, so dumb. Why are you doing this? So it doesn't always end up in failure here. But it did give me a little pause. It just overall, there was just, I think with a cast that is so larger than life, she doesn't really match that energy for me as much. And that could work to her favor, but I also think that it might be to her detriment. I don't know. Overall, I just kind of left feeling like a little bit lukewarm here.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's one of those situations where I like to look at the cast and I feel like the people who usually stand out right away don't do as well sometimes, and we're always like, darn it. And then it's these random people that are just in there that end up doing really good things. And so I kind of like to try and look for that. And so it's like, if I see like a little hint, like I just remember when I saw Dimitri's and when I saw Kayla, I was like, there's something there and I don't know what it is, but I'm just going to pick them. And I feel like I did well with those picks. So I'm kind of trying to go with that little group.
All right. So I am next, and I am going to go with Madeline.
Oh, right. Well, that's interesting because the chat was just asking me about Madeline. Do tell.
Oh, well, we're there. So Madeline is, I feel, so I sort of saw Madeline and Rianne in similar archetype-y positions to some degree. It seems like they're really casting Madeline to be in a showmance, whereas probably not as much the case with Rianne, although, again, you never really know. And I should say, Rianne, I don't know if I mentioned this or if any of us mentioned this, but Rianne says that she is a super fan of the show. I never saw any details about what that meant.
Did she say she watched it with her sister?
Yeah, so like it probably means that she's been watching for a while. I don't know if she watches live feeds. I don't know how involved she is. But she calls herself a super fan multiple times.
Yeah, there are different levels of super fandom.
That's
so.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody might call themselves a super fan, and then it turns out that that just means that they watch live every year. And you know who. So you never know. But she says she's super of the show. Madeline also is a big fan of the show. She says that she grew up watching. She's been watching since she was little. Again, this could mean that she just kind of, watches every season. But she definitely has watched Big Brother US, which I think is another thing that you have to watch out for in Big Brother Canada. You can be a super fan of Big Brother Canada who's seen all the seasons, but that means you've seen 7 seasons versus a super fan of Big Brother US where you've seen like 28, right? So that's a big difference as well. Madeline talked about how Dan Giesling is an idol of hers, and I think that's a great indicator in terms of knowledge of the show. It means she's at least been watching and remembers back to at least season 14. It means that she appreciates good gameplay, probably, and I think that it's something that I didn't really expect from her as I was going through her bio. I really was like, okay, this is, she's talking about getting into a showmance. It seems like that she was really casting it into a showmance. And then all of a sudden she says, well, my idol is, besides Dan Giesling, obviously. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. This is a little something that I wasn't really expecting. So I think that can be a good indicator. It's not always going to be, but it can be. And I think that the reason I went with her over Rianne in terms of the sort of the player that I think is also not really a huge personality, but will that work for her? Will that not work for her? I think she's a little bit less intimidating than Rianne is overall, and I think that will work in her favor in a group of very aggressive game players, right? I think that she might be left alone, but still have some knowledge of the game, still very personable, very she's very friendly. I feel like you're gonna have a hard time not getting along with her, hopefully, based on these predictions. And so I feel good about it. I feel like she's in it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, she's one of those ones who I'm not really excited about, but I feel like she could be in a good situation and do well. So it's like, it's hard for me because it's like I'm watching her and I'm not looking forward to watching her play, but I see a situation where maybe she gets into a showmance and then it's like a Holly Mickey sort of situation where they just end up being a good team, and then you start to see like the strategy in there and you start to be impressed with her game or whatever. But I just feel like I don't see her playing an aggressive game, and I don't see her necessarily playing a super strategic game. It is promising that she likes Dan Giesling. However, it's totally possible that it was just a Google search or something that showed her that Dan Giesling is the best player, according to someone in the chat, which I tend to agree with. But, it's just, I don't know about her. I feel like I wasn't excited for her. She didn't seem like she had the hunger in her to win, But if she actually is a fan and is just kind of like putting on this like persona for these interviews about like, oh, I just want to be in a showmance or like whatever, I'm like boy crazy or whatever, then that's something different. But I feel like her one thing that she was like touting as her like secret thing was that she's like plays tennis, and it's like, okay, cool, so like that's fine. But or like that she was the captain of the tennis team. Like that was like, well, people won't know that I was actually captain of the tennis team. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not super excited about her, but I could see a situation where she does really well. So who knows?
Yeah. Brent?
I was not impressed with this girl. She seems kind of snotty to me. As much as she talks about, I'm on the tennis team and I was the captain of the tennis team. She seems like she could also be a mean girl. And I also was very much LOLing when she was asked about boys, and she was like, I don't want to say that I like boys, but I like boys. And I'm like, okay, so we see where your game's going now. Look, let me do this for you. Let me paint the best picture for Madeline. Okay, she gets into a showmance, probably with Michael.
That's what I'm thinking.
They both love animals, and they both are looking for somebody to love. And so she gets into a showmance with Michael. He's seen as the bigger threat. He gets the boot. She gets to play on. He votes for her on the jury. That's the best way I can come up with a positive way to view Madeline. I mean, this is a woman who said that she would rather lose and be a legend, and yet also names Dan Giesling as her favorite player of all time. I just don't see how those two things can coexist. I understand when... What? I understand when things
make sense together.
Yeah.
I mean,
lose and be a legend.
I mean, of the two, he's closest to that because he's a legend and he's also lost.
No, right? I suppose that's fair, but still, he won the game. Like that's why he's.
Yeah, but he won and was a legend. So.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But I would not want to.
Yeah.
I would not. Again, we always bag on the people.
Chris is gonna do.
We bag on the people who are like lose and be a legend, and she seems like a little bit of a boy crazy girl. So.
Well, the people who say lose and be a legend have my respect more than the people who say win and not be respected. So.
Right. I feel like the question Ica asks, I think, is a great one because I feel like it's a little more nuanced than the one that Jeff usually asks, which is, would you rather win and be hated or lose and be loved? Where obviously lose and be loved, get out of here. But lose and be a legend versus win and not be respected means that you won and played a boring game and nobody likes you or respects you. And that's different than like losing and like going out in a blaze of fire and like playing a great game, but having just come short, you're a robbed goddess. Like, I feel like there is a bit of a more nuanced response to that you can make.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And also when you're in front of Ica, I think it's, you almost have carte blanche to be able to say, yeah, I'd rather lose and be a legend when you're talking to the epitome of someone who lost and became a legend in Ica Wong. So I don't know that it's necessarily a fair question, especially when Ica Wong is the person asking it. Look, overall, though, I think that so much of Madeline's game depends on her relationship, and it's always true about Big Brother in general, so I don't come for me on that, but I think so much of her game is dependent on her relationships with other people. But to me, her story is very narrow. Like, she's going to need to get into a showmance, she's going to need for them to be targeted in order for her to succeed. Now, maybe this can happen. We saw last season where Adam was like, this is my plan, I want to do this, and of course we laughed about it, and then he went and did it, and he did it to a T. I don't know that this is going to work 2 seasons in a row, though, so we'll see.
Yeah, Daquan further elaborates on the question. Would you rather be an Ica or a Casey?
Yeah,
that's true.
An example.
Well, I mean, like, okay, if being the Ica in the scenario is like getting all these gigs after the fact and making that $500,000 anyway, then, I'll take it.
All right, Brent, you are up next with 2 picks. Okay.
This is so exciting. I love it. I have 2 picks, and I can literally pick anybody that I want. And, I mean, like, that's obviously left on the board. And the 2 people who I was talking about in the beginning who I really wanted to pick are still here. And so I'm just going to, like, I need to make myself happy. I made my brain happy with the first pick, and now I need to make me happy with these picks. So the first person I'm going to pick is Min Lee. I love Min Lee. I am so excited to watch her on this season of Big Brother Canada. I think there was a good possibility that she actually fell to like maybe number 14th or 15th with these people, like with Taran and Melissa. But I don't care. I want to pick Min Lee, and so I'm going to pick Min Lee. She seems like a little bit of a bitch. She seems feisty. She seems ready to compete. She doesn't give a shit what people think about her. I think there is entirely the possibility that she could be the first boot. I think she could rub some people the wrong way. I don't care. I love her. She makes me happy. She's exactly the kind of girl, like, okay, there was a girl on Sequester that me and Taran podcasted about who is Min Lee. And her name was Erica. And I loved her to death. Like, she was giving me all the vibes in the world of the robbed goddess. And these are the chicks that I love on reality shows.
You mean they lost and were a legend?
Yeah, that's okay. But you know what? Every once in a while, they're like Rachel Riley and they go on to win. So I'm here for Min Lee to go ahead. I'm trying to imagine the scenario where she gets to the end of the game and people want to vote for her. I can sort of make that scenario happen, Taran. It's not out of the realm of possibility that she could get to the end of the game. She seems hungry. And you know what? That's what I expect more than anything out of these players, is for them to be hungry to win. And Min Lee, more than anything to me, is just, she's so excited to be there. She wants to play the game and make big moves and, you know, give it to them. And I'm just here for it. So who cares? I'm excited.
Yeah,
I love her. I think she's so fun and exciting, and I think it's one of those situations where, remember Kirsten's video where it was like they made her like be a devil,
yeah,
and they made her say all this stuff and be like, I don't care what you say, blah blah blah. And I think it's a similar situation here where they probably were like, let's play up this like, oh, I don't care, oh, I'm mean, I'm whatever, because her interview with Ica was very different. And I saw her interview with Ica first, and I was like, I love this girl.
Right.
She's great. Oh, my God, amazing. And then I saw her little short snippet intro video, and I was like, ooh, I don't know what's going on here. But I think if she goes in with that Ica video as her persona, I mean, that seems to be who she really is, that will be great. And I think she'll do well. I don't think she'll necessarily rub people the wrong way unless they rub her some way first. And so I just really like her. I think she's very exciting. I think she's really smart. And
really smart.
Yeah.
So excited. And you're right. The interview with Ica was so different. She's such a chameleon. Like, I definitely think that she has a bitch quality to her. And I know that there's some people who don't like me saying that on these podcasts, but she herself said it in the video when she was talking to Big Brother Canada. She's like, yeah, I can be a bitch. That's just how I am sometimes. So you know what? I'm excited to see all these different sides of her. I think that she really has the versatility in order to go the distance.
Yeah, I really like her. I think that she will be good on the show. I think that the intro video was, as you guys said, very different from what I saw in her Ica interview. I don't think she's going to go into the house guns blazing, like Paul Jackson style, like, I must be the villain. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that she can do well. Honestly, my biggest concern here with Min Lee, and quite frankly, one of the main reasons I did not have her very high on my list, is that from what I've seen or been able to see, she does not seem like one of the fans on the cast. One of very few. She says she's seen the show before, but I don't know much beyond that. I could be wrong about this, and if she is a fan of the show, then I think that does bump her up a bit for me. But in general, as I've said before, if you're a fan of the show, I think that you're more likely to do well. So if you're not a fan of the show, I think you're a little bit less likely to do well. And especially if you're on a cast full of people who know the show really well, she might find herself out of her depth. If everybody is operating on a level and she has to kind of catch up because she doesn't know the show very well. That could be not the case. We saw Anthony, who was not a fan of the show prior to going on the show, do extremely well, and he walked circles around people who had seen the show. So this is not a set in stone thing. But in terms of odds, like the likelihood of being an Anthony versus being one of many, many names that we don't even remember because they just flamed out because they didn't know the show well enough, the odds are a lot better that you're one of those many names and not an Anthony. So that was my biggest concern here with Minlee. But I do think she has the raw stuff here, personality-wise, to do well. She does seem, based on that intro video, to have a hardness to her, a hunger to her, as Brent might say, and meanwhile, she is able to talk with Ika in a perfectly reasonable way. So I'm rooting for her. I think she can do well. But when I have a whole cast of fans, I just got a hard time picking one that's not.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think that her juice, her competitiveness just made up for the fact that she wasn't as big of a fan as the rest of them. And I've seen people succeed in her place before who weren't fans. I think Anthony was a bit of a unicorn last season, somebody who was not a fan of the show at all, an obvious recruit who went on to be one of the biggest masterminds we've ever seen on the show. So I'm not expecting that from her, but I am expecting something more than than an average non-fan would give us.
Yeah, and arguably Anthony not being a fan is what cost him the game at the end, right? So yeah, and he had other fans to work off of and learn from the whole way through. So all right, Brent, who is going to be your next pick?
My next pick is going to be, and I don't understand why people are so down on this guy. He's amazing. You have to pick Jamar. He is such a breath of fresh air on Big Brother Canada and reality TV in general. I mean, the level of assuredness and confidence coming out of this guy is just something to behold. I mean, not even mentioning how amazing he looks and how hot he is. I just wanted to be near his personality. I mean, you just want to be around somebody like that who is so confident and so assured of himself. And his interview with Ika to me just made me LOL and sent me over the ledge laughing, because I don't know if he was trying to take it seriously. I feel like he was, but if he's going to be on this season of Big Brother Canada, and in the event that he wins, I think we're going to be in for a fantastic season. There's also somebody else in this cast who the chat also wanted me to pick, who I feel like if they went on to win the season, then I think we'd be very happy with that season of Big Brother Canada. But I really felt drawn to Jamar, and this is how I draft things. I have to be happy with the people that I draft, and I so connected with Jamar and how he thinks about the game and how he thinks about the things that the things that are important to him are loyalty and hard work and competition, and throwing things is just not in his wheelhouse. And I so respected that. I'm so curious to see what you guys think of Jamar.
Yeah, I like Jamar. I'm interested to see him play. He is a fan of the show. I don't know how much exactly, but he at least was watching probably back around season 2 of Big Brother Canada, at least season 5 of Big Brother Canada. He talked about running into Ika in a mall at one point. So he knows the show at least to some degree. The thing that made me pause about Jamar is that I don't feel like I know who he is yet. His interview with Ika was, it felt like an act to me, just a little bit. Maybe not an act, but maybe he was nervous and he sort of retreats to a certain style of speaking. But it was very I don't know how to convey this to people who haven't seen it, but he was basically just yeah, I'm gonna go on the show and I'm just gonna kill it. You feel me? So she'd be like, all right, so.
How does he talk?
You're very confident. Yeah, I'm very confident.
I take your point. Okay, so when he's not talking to someone who looks like Ika Wong, how does he interact?
Right.
Then?
I don't know.
But
what I'm saying is he can't possibly be that person who talked to Ika all the time with everybody. There's no way. And so I don't know who he is outside of that very specific situation. It was
so funny, Melissa. I don't know if you noticed Jamar, when he was looking. This is terrible. I'm sure you're like, why did you pick him then? When he was looking at Ika, he was his eyes were
yeah.
I felt like he was physically aroused during the interview with Ika.
Boy. I hate it. And I hate the thought of that. I liked Jamar's interview with Ika in the sense that it made me laugh a lot because he was all like, "Oh, I saw you in the mall," and I was like, "Hey," and you were like,
"Hey, cheese."
There's like this whole story of it, and like this whole saga of like her waving to him and how that like meant something. But I just thought that was pretty funny. And and then when she's like, "Who's your favorite player?" He's like, "You," and she's like, "Pick someone else." And he's like, "Why?" I thought that was very funny. But I have to say that I am letting outside influence my opinion of him, where I don't know if you saw, but on the subreddit, someone said that he knew him from school and that he had terrorized him and was a total bully to him. So that really influences me because it makes me think that there might be some issues in the house. Like, I mean, it's totally possible that he's grown up now and it's just that's not part of his personality. It's part of the history, or it's totally possible it's not true.
Do you know
how?
Yeah,
I don't think there's been any confirmation.
There's not been, but that's why I'm saying like that has been influencing me, even though I'm trying not to let it influence me, because it's totally possible.
Just to be clear, I'm sorry to stop you. Was this something that like happened in high school or did they say when?
It sounded like it was high school, but I don't know. Someone just on the subreddit just said it, so take it with a huge grain of salt.
I'll take it with a huge grain of salt.
Someone had just said like, "Hey, I knew him," but people say that all the time, so who knows? I'm just saying that like it did affect my like the way I viewed the interview on second watch and the way I viewed his like confidence started to look more like cockiness to me when I thought of that. So now I'm like, I don't know. So it's just a little bit like, I can't tell whether it's just like fun confidence and he's just this like outgoing guy and he's going to be really easy to get along with and friendly to people and you're going to like love him. Or if it's like, he's cocky and he's going to turn people off because of that. And so that was my only concern with him. And so I'm a little concerned. And that is why I wasn't going to pick him in the upcoming round. So.
We do have breaking news from the chat that somebody in the chat said he saved their baby in high school. So
now I love him.
I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. Oh man, I want to pick him.
The people in the chat are saying it's from like 2015. Look, I take it, but look, it's never great to hear stuff like that. I will say that me personally, I've met so many. I think I even talked to this maybe in the third interview that I did with Taran on the Taran show, where like you meet your bullies later on in life, like 4 or 5 years removed from high school, and the two guys who were probably the worst to me in high school ended up becoming really good friends of mine, and one in particular really said like, Brent, I'm so like I told him the way he treated me and he was like, yeah, that was really terrible and I'm really sorry for that. So people can change. They're not always defined by who they are in high school. So I would take that with, like, as Melissa said, a giant grain of salt. But I do feel like that the cockiness that you see, and it is cocky in the interview, is definitely something to look out for insofar as his game moving forward. I mean, basically, Jamar is like a big question mark. Ika said that this was her pick, that she loved Jamar the most because he just made her LOL the entire time. I'd love to see him win. He's got that interesting background where you just want to get to know him more, and I'm hopeful that he can bond with the people in the house to the point where they want to keep him around.
Yeah, I will say one final thing on Jamar. Another concern of mine, similar to anybody else that is a younger person on the cast. He is 23. He's one of the youngest people. I think the second youngest person on the cast. And I think that's a little bit of an issue to begin with. But combine that with the personality we saw with Ika, that does begin to be even more of a concern to me. Like a young person acting that way to you is less tolerable than an older person acting that way to you, I believe. Yeah. So that could be. You're right. You have to be the right amount of age.
You just have to be the exact
and attractiveness, and also everything else. All right, so I have the next pick here. And I really thought that that the choice was gonna be made for me, but I actually have all three of the people I was considering left here. Oh. It's hard. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with. Man, it's tough. I'm gonna go with Kyle.
That'll make the chat
I thought
happy.
that's who you're gonna pick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who've been wanting us to pick Kyle.
Yeah, it's it's a tough. I've got three different people that I was choosing from there.
You might still be able to get them.
Maybe. I mean, I'll as long as Melissa doesn't get both of them, then I'll be able to get one more of them. Yeah, Kyle. Again, fan of the show. I don't know exactly how long he's been a fan of the show, but at least a couple of years, it seems. He is very physically fit, a very big guy. I don't know how well he'll do in a lot of the competitions, but anything that's pure strength, he should probably do pretty well. He has something about him. Like, he is obviously very physically intimidating, but as we've talked about, a lot of the guys are very physically intimidating on this cast, so I don't think it really is a negative as much as it could be in a normal cast. He also just has like a look to him. He's wearing a sequins headband. He's got the really long hair and like the jean jacket, and I don't know, maybe there's some tie-dye. I don't know if there was or if I just expect there to be, but you could expect that there would be tie-dye somewhere. And he's got a family, and I feel like he could be really relatable, for like, he's just a little bit older than some of the other casts here. I believe he is he's 31, which is just around that average age, just a little bit older.
31,
right? But
oh my god, I thought for sure he was like 40.
Oh, me too.
Right.
I'm 30. You think he looks my age, everybody? No.
No, I think.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well, he was an addict until just a few years ago.
I mean, like, even the way he like carries himself, I don't know. I just and he has kids.
Right.
I feel totally weird.
So he has been clean for a few years. He's got I believe a wife and daughter, and or son, but probably daughter, because usually I've got a daughter, and I just, in general, I feel like he will be able to bond with a large variety of people in this house. I think that he's not really pigeonholed. I feel like he's just unique enough, but still down to earth and relatable enough that I think he can get along with a lot of people on this cast. I think that's really important. And I think that I don't know. I think he can do well. I think he's personable. He talks about his life. He's got a good story. I can see him being brought in to things. Like, people just want him involved. Oh, let's get Kyle in. He's a good guy. So that's how I feel about it. Melissa?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked Kyle. I mean, he seems interesting. He seems nice and friendly and easy to get along with. He seems like he's got a lot of stories. He's athletic as well, which honestly, I didn't expect that when I first saw, because like the hair, the sequins, whatever. I just thought he was a kind of a goofy guy. But then he's got like giant muscles, and I guess he's like a power lifter and is like number one in the country. I don't know. But yeah, so whatever he said, he does some good job powerlifting, whatever. But the one thing that I did notice, and I guess it's not the one thing, because there's a few things, but I think the main thing I noticed was he said that he's susceptible to emotional manipulation. And I feel like that is the main thing that happens in Big Brother. So I could see that becoming a problem in the future. And I also see a situation where, it reminds me of Cliff, where Cliff would be like, but she promised and she's crying, and it's, she's telling me she's going to do this thing. And, it's like, well, yeah, everyone's going to say everything in this game. So that does make me a little nervous about that. But who knows what's going to happen, and maybe that's not the situation. He seems like he's in it to win it, so I like him as a pick.
It's top 10 in the world in bench press.
Yeah,
that's
pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was actually impressive. Like,
I was totally wrong about every description I gave to it. So.
Well, no, we were watching it and we were like, oh, that is actually impressive. Like sometimes these people give like things that they're proud of, and it's like
this is not top 10 in Canada. This is top 10 in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that is important because I know that there are some other big guys on this cast: Sheldon, Jamar, John-Luc, Chris. But this guy takes the cake. I mean, he is absolutely massive. Yeah, there's a lot of big guys, but they don't hold a candle to the amount of muscles that Kyle has. So I do feel like that could be a drawback. The fact that he's a little bit of a doofus and a little bit of a, kind of guy who looks like he's really had a hard life, that could help him in terms of trying to mitigate the obvious negative effect that having that many muscles would have on somebody's chances of staying in the game on Big Brother Canada. The chat reminded me that it was cocaine that he had used, and he's been clean for, I believe it was 3 years. As a former addict myself, I can tell you that cocaine is the one drug. When I met people in rehab and they said, what's your drug of choice? And they said what it was. The cocaine addicts were always the people who I felt like, even when they're clean, it still felt like they were using. And I don't know if that makes sense or not, but they just carry themselves in such a way where it's like the drug really never leaves you. And I got that feeling when I was listening to Kyle. I just felt like he was still in the early stages of being clean. And I've been clean for 15 years. So I guess being clean for 3 years is still a baby at this point. But I did feel like that he's still got a little bit of ways to go before he's definitely free of that sort of grip that the drug can have on you. So I'm interested to see how he turns it around in the Big Brother house. I also feel like as a massive family man that he may be bored by the people that are in the house. I mean, there are a lot of vapid people in the house. I mean, it's true this is a little bit of an older cast than they normally have, but it's still a lot of people who are single and ready to mingle, and he's not that kind of guy. So because he's married and has kids. And so I don't know. I of the people in the cast, I do feel like that he could be the guy who just kind of quits. And I hope that doesn't happen.
All right. Melissa.
All right. I'm going to pick someone who I feel was strangely controversial when the videos came out, which was weird. And this is another situation where outside influence is influencing me. But I am going to go with John-Luc, a.k.a. The Bachelorette's own John Paul Jones. Basically, he's exactly like John Paul Jones, and I can't believe his name is very similar. But yeah, so I did not mind his interviews as much as everyone else did. It seemed like the second the Ica one came out, it was like immediate downvotes on his. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? But everyone on Reddit, or not everyone on Reddit, but some people on Reddit, maybe one person, who knows if it's more than one. I didn't check the usernames, but they know him in real life, supposedly, and they're his roommates, or one of them is his roommate, and have talked about how funny and awesome and amazing he is, and how everyone loves him and people are drawn to him, and he's great at telling stories, et cetera, et cetera. And so I could see that being a thing. And when he first came on the screen, I was immediately reminded of Hayden from Big Brother 16, and I loved Hayden from Big Brother 16. And I know that Hayden from Big Brother 16 was a recruit, and he picked up the game really fast. And I felt like at that point, he was like the one chance to have somebody rise up against Derek. And then, of course, he was taken out in the double. But he reminds me of him, and I feel like he could do well. And so I had to go with him.
Yeah, this is an interesting pick. I did consider John-Luc at first. He is the youngest on the cast, and I think that will hurt him. He is 22. I believe he
reads like it.
Yeah. He will be turning 23 in May. So he'll have a birthday in the
Hayden was young too.
Might have a birthday in the house. And yeah, my biggest problem with him is that, he reminded me a little bit of Dane last season in the pregame. Dane was like this kind of likable goofball. He had no teeth or missing teeth, and he was like, I'm this guy, and it was like, oh boy. But there was something to Dane that I really found that drew me to him. That he had a magnetism. He was a bit older, and he was a fan of the show. And Jean-Luc does not have those things. He is younger, not a fan of the show. He really sounds like, if you haven't heard his voice, just think about Keanu Reeves, like stoner surfer bro, the most stereotypical you could imagine, and that's about Jean-Luc. He really sounds, he's not a surfer, he sounds like a surfer, and I don't think he's going to find a lot of success here, personally. I'm really not optimistic about Jean-Luc. He was one of my lower ranked people. I just feel like he really might be out of his depth, trying to play with all these people who have a lot more knowledge of the game, who are a lot older than him. I'm not feeling it, Brent.
Yeah, I'm also not feeling him. First of all, he is so cute. He makes me smile, but he is such a fuckboy compared to everybody else in this cast. Like, I mean, he just reads that way when you talk to him. Like, I don't think anybody in the cast will take him seriously. I think they'll look at him and laugh, and I don't see how this person could get to the end of the game and win. He might be able to stick around for a while. Who knows? He's maybe a love connection for somebody in this cast, possibly, but I don't know. Like, I don't, maybe it's his voice. Like, I'm just not buying his reality because his voice seems so fake to me. But if his voice is actually real, then I guess I'm the one who's going to have egg on my face, because he does seem like, as they said in the chat, the fuckiest of fuck boys. So I don't know. I wasn't feeling this pick, Melissa. He's just not the kind of guy that I feel like can go the distance on Big Brother Canada.
I don't know if he can go the distance, but I feel like he'll be fun to watch. And I'm banking on the fact that he'll be a fun personality and people will want him around. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And that's what
Yeah, and I will say, I fully expect him to be very personable and friendly and fun, and probably will get along with some of the people in the house. It's really the strategic side of things where I feel like I just don't know if he fits in with a cast of like really competitive fans of the show. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Also, like, I don't know if you guys get the John Paul Jones reference, but John Paul Jones was someone we all thought was going to be first boot on The Bachelorette, and everyone was like, this guy's out immediately. Like, this guy's a joke. He's really weird, whatever. And then he goes on to stay on every single week and becomes like the fan favorite. So he's like the star of that season.
Well, that happened last season. First of all, neither Taran nor I watched The Bachelor, so we have no idea what you're talking about. But that happened.
You guys just don't get that. So you don't pick.
That happened last season with Big Brother Canada. We all looked at Adam and we all laughed at Adam last week or last year, and we all thought he was a bit of an ass. And by the end of the Big Brother Canada 7, we were all jointly rooting for him. We're just like, oh, he's so great. Yeah. He's such a nice guy, and definitely people can win you over. I've been wrong so many times on these shows.
Yeah. All right, Melissa, one more pick.
Oh my God, this one's hard because it's like Brent said, I have a choice, or maybe even two choices. No, mainly just one choice. I have one choice
then
that it's like my heart is saying to pick it, but then I have one choice that my head is saying to pick. And I think I'm going to have to go with my head. And I'm going to pick Michael purely because of the archetype. Not because I think he's going to be great or anything, but just because I could see him lasting a while. Maybe something goes well for him. And in the past few seasons, we've seen this kind of character do well. So that's what's going on. I'm not thrilled about it. He's athletic. He's in the military, blah, blah, positives. He's going to get in a showmance. Okay, cool. But I don't know if he knows the show. Also, he quoted Cody with the victim noises thing, which that weirded me out because that was the thing we all thought was weird about Cody's interviews, and we were trying to justify that, and now all of a sudden this guy is using that as that's the best way to say it. That's the way I've heard it said, and that's the best way to say it. So maybe I don't know what it is, but I could see him getting into showmance and doing well, or getting into Guys Alliance or something. And so I hope that's not the case, and I hope he's some great fun player and does well because we want him to do well and we're rooting for him, but who knows.
Brent, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think this guy's winning Big Brother Canada 8. I didn't really care for him. I thought he was a bit cocky. He's obviously very sure of himself, but not in a way that I find fun. It was in a way that I find kind of gross. He's trying overly hard to be like the guy that has a soft side with the little puppy in the commercial or in the promo that they had him in, which like that was terrible. Like that was
Casually talking about Ranger panties.
Yeah, casually has his shirt off while he's wearing the vest. Casually has his shirt off while he's holding.
Yeah, like why did he have his shirt off when he was wearing that vest? It was like he was like a belly shirt at that point. You could see his like belly button. It was like that's weird. You don't wear it like that.
I just like to be naked. It's no big
He just
deal.
likes
You
to
know,
be
I'm just
looking
super
fine.
hot and I like to be naked.
He can be
Oh
naked. That'll make me very happy.
It was so
naked.
pandering with the puppy.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, so then you juxtapose that with his interview where he's like, I don't like victim noises, the minging and moaning. Like, okay, so like, where's the puppy guy? Like, what's going on here? I don't know.
You know, puppies can be pretty whiny. They can minge, they can minge and moan.
Minge and moan. Ugh, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Michael was one of the people I was considering to choose. I do have some reservations. He's a little bit young, but I do think that the military thing will work in his benefit. Now, he said he was going to hide the fact that he was in the military, which
right?
Yeah, I don't think that's a great idea. I think that you know, saying he's in the military will actually win him a lot of respect in the house. Especially, again, like, there's so many jacked guys in there. I don't think they're gonna be like, well, military man, we gotta watch out for him. If anything, I think just, you know, saying that he's in the military will give him a level of credibility. Yeah. You know, I've talked about this a little bit, but like, being in the military, there's a preconception that people have of people who are in the military as like they're very straightforward, they're very really regimented, tend to be pretty honest. I think is sort of like the instinctual response to like a soldier, an army man, and so I think that it would really help him out, especially when the other side of him is this sort of like, yeah, walk around naked with puppies and girls treat me badly. What am I gonna do? Like I feel like the military side of him is going to work a lot better. Honest and loyal, absolutely. Loyalty is huge for I think when you think of military people, you think loyalty, absolutely. And so I think that will work in his benefit if he uses it. You know, some people say they're going to hide something and they don't end up hiding it. So he very well might talk about how he's in the military and it might work in his favor. So I think he can do well. I do think that there is, you know, he's low key enough. I think he can act mature enough that that he can get by and he can do well in the game. He seems to know the show decently well. He knew about Cody and victim noises, which means he's been watching for at least a few years, or at least went back to Big Brother 19, which is, I don't know, I guess decently far at this point, combining it with Canada. So I don't know. I think he could do well, but there are some major reservations here.
Yeah, the thing that we talked about on the Twitch stream was the fact that he was going to hide the fact that he was in the military, when saying that you're in the military grants you so much unearned credibility that you ordinarily would not have had. If you say you're in the military, that people just assume that you're going to be loyal, that you're a straightforward guy, that you're not plotting against them, that your word is your bond. And he basically is handcuffing himself by going into the Big Brother house by saying, again, that he's not going to use that. He doesn't want to tell people that he's in the military. Now, like Taran, I'm hoping that once he sees how many other jacked guys are around him, he'll realize that lying about being in the military is probably a bad thing, that he should just be honest with people about it. But I don't know. He may not be that smart.
Mm-hmm. All right. So it's back to me. And I am going to be able to get the last of my three that I was considering. And I'm going to pick Hira.
Yay!
And so now in his interview with Aika, he said that his name is pronounced Hira, but that people will often just call him Hira. because they I don't know, can't pronounce his name or whatever it is. It's easier maybe. So I don't know what he's going to go by, but for now I'll call him Hira. And I really like him. I was excited by him. He is also a big fan of the show. He's married. He's 30. I think that he can do really well. He is one of the few in the house who is not super jacked. So, you know, potentially this could be a good thing for him. Like in a house full of very threatening guys, maybe he can do well here. Maybe he gets targeted because he's not as jacked as the other guys, and the other guys are like, we gotta get rid of the not jacked dudes because they're gonna be the ones that get us out. Well, us jacked dudes gotta stick together. And so that might be bad, but I hope it's a good thing. He seems like such a nice guy. I think sort of similar to Kyle. I feel like it's going to be very easy to get along with him, hopefully. And I think a lot of people will be able to talk with him, to come with him, or come to him. I don't know how often he's dragged into an alliance in the same way that Kyle might be. I think Kyle's physicality makes him seem more useful, which I think will be, you know, people more likely to drag him into an alliance. Whereas Hira maybe doesn't have as much to offer in alliance, theoretically. But I think he can get by. I think that he is somebody who can stick around for a little while, you know, get some ground game going, and eventually take a run at a win here. So I like him, and I hope he does well. Really, my biggest concern with him is that he seems almost like too good of a guy, and he's too much talking about like being honest and, you know, making a, you know, good, showing a good, you know, whatever example for, you know, his, I don't know, family. So that's the killer instinct is something that I'm a little concerned about, but beyond that, I do like him, and I hope he does well. So here he is.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. That is actually why I was not going to pick him, just because when someone says, I don't want to lie, I want to play an honest game, I'm, you know, like that's something that'll bother me, is if people lie, it's like they already are setting themselves up for failure, because they're going to have to lie at some point. And if you go into the game being like, I will not lie, it's just, it makes things tricky, and it makes it hard for you to say certain things, and then, you know, you have to be open and honest with everybody, and it just ends up being weird. So that really concerned me about his game. You know, he seems like a great guy. He says he's really good at making friends, which I can totally see, and he's a fan of the game. So it's like everything's there except for the killer instinct, and that is something that's super important to me when I'm looking at draft picks. So that's why I was like, I can't do it.
Look, I love this guy. He's so hot. I mean, like, I like the fact that he's not like some muscle, you know, fuck boy. Like he's actually like a real
Is there
dude.
anyone on the cast that you don't think is hot, Brent?
No, there's literally no. I told Taran this when we were going through all A guys. I'm like, I all of you, just come meet me after the show. You're all absolutely astounding. Yeah, I think I love the beard. I love the overall way he carries himself. He just has a quiet confidence about him. I agree with your assessment, Taran, that I worry that the killer instinct is not there. We've talked about this before on other reality shows where they don't have the gear that they need to have to shift into the win, and this is all about the win. I certainly think that he's going to go a long way. I feel like that there's nobody who's going to want to get rid of Hira. I don't. How do you say it again? Hira. Okay, Hira. I'm going to be a dirty American and just say Hira. But yeah, there's nobody in this cast that can get away with not lying, and he's going to have to learn that in order to better his family and better his living situation, if he wants to win the money at the end, he's going to have to lie. Hoping that he can do that. Still a little worried that he won't be able to pull the trigger.
Yeah. All right, Brent, you have 2 picks. These are your final picks of the draft.
Final picks of the draft. I'm going to pick somebody that the chat has been begging us to pick since the beginning of the first round. I feel like we have to give Chris a go here. Chris Wiley, who is the guy that Taran and I just had so much of a hilarious time with on the Twitch stream, I'm going to assume that all of the crazy stuff that I heard on the Twitch stream and all of the stuff that he did in the promo and all the stuff that he's like, I'm hoping this is a big act, because when he got to actually talk with Ica, I feel like he was a little bit more grounded in terms of his interactions with people. He definitely made me laugh still in his interview with Ica, but it wasn't to the point where I felt like he was putting on a character. Again, in the universe where this guy wins, it has been a fantastic season of Big Brother Canada. I feel like there's a way he could win where I'm totally dismissing the brain reconstitution therapy that he's preaching. I know he put out a YouTube video about it.
Okay, so let me just set the stage here for those unfamiliar with Chris. When I first saw Chris, we see that his occupation is brain transformation specialist, and I was like, that's weird, but I ignored it. And then you go further into his bio, and he continues to reference the fact that he's a brain transformation specialist. In fact, he says why he's going to do well is he's not just a guy who works out, he actually has a brain. And that's what he does for a living, as a brain transformation specialist. And so I was like, okay, hold on. We have to look this up. What is a brain transformation specialist?
Look deeper.
You type it into Google, and you don't get any results. There's nothing that says brain transformation specialist. Okay, that's a little weird. So what you sometimes have to do with Google, you got to put quotation marks around the phrase so that it searches for that exact phrase so that you are actually getting results for that thing. So you put quotation marks around it, you start to look at the results, and you come to the realization, oh, he is the results. It's just Chris. It's the brain transformation specialist is Chris. He's made this up. This is not a real thing. He's just called himself. If you had your pick of what do you want to call your profession? Brain transformation specialist. And so one of the results is a YouTube page, a YouTube channel, and he's uploaded 2 videos the day before the cast released. And the videos have this like inspiring motivational music, and they have Chris dressed as a magician in a small little office room, talking with a bunch of like 5 people sitting in chairs about how he's going to transform their brain, and that if you have anxiety, then we're going to fix it. You have other problems in your life, we're going to fix it. I'm going to teach you how to do things, and it's gonna be great, with swelling music in the background, and they're holding out their arms and like closing their eyes, and he's like pressing his hand down on their arms, and they're like, whoa. I don't know what he's doing, but it reminds me of that, like, you know how they used to like have those like negative ion bracelets or whatever that they'd put on you, and then they'd do that like scammy trick where they'd like push down and have you balance, and like you'd be unbalanced when you didn't have it on, but when you put it on, you'd be like sturdy. I worked next to a place that sold them, so I watched it out constantly. It felt very much like that. I don't know what the arm thing was, but the point being, this guy is like he's trying to be some kind of, cult leader, scam artist, brain transformation specialist. He talks about, I don't remember the term it was. It's some sort of pseudoscience that he's preaching. So, this is somebody who really feels like and it seems like he's genuine about it. It doesn't seem like he's trying to scam people. It seems like he really buys into this.
I can't agree with that.
Okay. Well,
I feel like he's in on the joke.
Okay, well that's very possible. Ica NLP. Thank you for the thing there. I think like neuroplasticity is something that he talks about, which neuroplasticity is a real thing, but I think the thing that they try to take from it is pseudoscience. Ica also mentions that at some point, I don't know where she found this, but he also is he used to be a pickup artist that was like great on pickup lines, and he was like embarrassed about it. But I think you're getting a sense of who this guy is, like somebody who
like
he's 28, right? He's 28 right now. Like when he was 23, he was probably really like into the pickup artist thing and went to conventions about it and like all that stuff. And now he's, you know, then he went to NLP, brain transformation specialist stuff, and now he's, you know, teaching other people about this. That's what he feels like to me. And so now that the stage has been set, Brent, tell us why you think he's going to win Big Brother Canada.
Look.
Now that Taran's torn him to shreds, go ahead, Brent. Say why you think he can win.
Look, I feel like that anybody who puts this much time and effort, and let's be clear, Taran and I, when we watched that, we were the third view, okay? Yeah. So he obviously put this up ahead of time before going into the house because he wanted to have it as a thing to have out there while he's in the house. Anybody that goes through this much angst and trouble to do this and get it up on the internet and have it ready to go by the time he goes into the house is somebody that I want to sign up for. Like the chat called it, he is the male Caitlin Herman. He is the guy who is a little bit kooky, but maybe actually has something to offer us once he's in the Big Brother house.
Though,
you know what? I don't care. We're down here in the dregs at number.
Did Caitlin win?
I picked number 12. I feel like we're looking at the bottom of the barrel here. So you know, given the choices that we have, I feel like Chris is the guy that you have to go with here. I don't think that. Again, I feel like he's in on the joke. I don't feel like that the Chris that we're seeing in the promo video is the real Chris. Even the Chris that we see in the Ica video necessarily is the real Chris. He's going to have, like, he can't go around the house talking about brain transformation specialties all the while. He's going to have real conversations with people. And I think that the guy that I saw when having real conversations is a pretty cool guy. Like, and he's a bit of a
when
doof.
did you see him having really real conversations?
There were elements in his conversation with Ica where I felt like the mask fell off a little bit when he got embarrassed about different things that Ica was asking him about. So once that's able to happen, I feel like that there's something to be had here. And he's pretty funny, and you know, he makes people laugh, and he's a bit of a doofus, but like in a room full of people who are all super fans of the show and who are all gaming the shit out of things, I feel like that he could be overlooked.
So
I guess my thought is, like, I don't know if he's like in on the joke, and I don't feel like he is.
If he's not in on the joke, then I'm in trouble.
Right. That's the vibe I'm getting, is that he's not in on the joke, and he just like doesn't know how to communicate with people that doesn't sound very sterile. And very like he's reading off a script or something. Like I didn't see any realness in any of his interviews, and I feel like I got vibes of like Mark from him, where like from last season, where it was like Mark couldn't really connect with people very well, and that was like his downfall. And I feel like this guy is like even worse, like way worse than that, where it's like I can't see him connecting with anybody. So I mean, it's totally possible that it's like he's just like putting on this like persona for these interviews, and like we'll see the real him. But like it concerns me that like I didn't feel like I saw the real him at all. And also, like, I feel like this whole like brain transformation specialist thing is going to be like a major turn off for everybody he talks to. At least I would be very turned off. And also, this whole thing about him being a pickup artist, if that's like the only other thing he's got going, like I'd be even more turned off by that. So I just feel like I didn't see anything there, but it's totally possible that he's another like character type where it's like, I like was so mean and awful to Caitlin in the draft, rewatching that, I was like, I'm so stupid. I love her now. Like she was like one of the best characters on TV, and I don't know how I didn't see it. So it's totally possible that this guy's going to be amazing to watch and so fun and so awesome. And I'm just not seeing it right now, but I'll eat my words if that's
By the way, Puya in the chat, I have to give a shout out to, because Puya says that Chris puts the dodo in pseudo. dough.
Well, so here's the thing. There's a thing where there are like martial artists who claim that they can like knock people out without touching them, and they have whole like dojos in schools, and these people believe in what they're doing. Like they begin to believe that they can do this, and so they get challenged by actual fighters and get knocked right out immediately. And they obviously did not expect that to happen because they bought into their own stuff, right? And so I feel like this kind of person genuinely tends to buy into what they're selling, and I think that he really probably feels like it's helped him and that he can help others with it. So I don't necessarily think he's in on the joke, and I do think that's like I'd be willing to put some money down that in the first episode or two we will see some kind of scene where somebody's holding out their arm and he's doing the thing, right? Like show, you know what I mean? So and you know, he starts off his interview with Ica, and there's just an energy about him. And let me get this clear: I love Chris. I am extremely excited to see him play the game.
I'm very excited to see him in the game.
This is fantastic casting, because I feel like if he wasn't in, if he was in on the joke that he was like, this is clearly fake, but I'm playing this up, then he wouldn't go on the show, because it's not exactly going to be a ringing endorsement unless he does really, really well. But his interview with Ica is so he's got this energy. He Ica's like, so you know, how's it going? Like you know, what do you think? He's like, Ica, I am uber excited right now to be here. And he's got like he's got that look in his eyes. Like I'm very excited to see what he does.
Yeah, the look in his eyes. It's like he's so like intent on telling you and his eyes are like so pretty that you're just like, what the heck? What's going on? Is this guy trying to hypnotize me? Like, what's
just look at his cast photo. Like, he's just like,
you know,
like he's just got a little bit of like, eh.
He talks about in his video that girls think he has a really big brain, and I'm like, the thing that actually looks big to me is your eyes. Like, that's all I see when I look at you. Is every time you're staring at Ica or you're staring at us in the promo video, it's all about your eyes. So look, again, we're down here at number 12, 13, 14, 15. Where would you have guys? Would you like waited till last to take Chris? Like,
he was my last pick.
I feel like he's got a snowball's chance.
He was my last pick. He's number 16 for me.
All right.
But you know what? He's going to be very entertaining.
Yes. Brent, you have one final pick. Who is going to be your last pick of the draft?
All right. So the people that are left on the board are Angie, Nico, Carol, and Suzanne. And of those people, I feel like there is a clear choice here. I could have picked this person because I knew I had two picks back to back. Again, I would have picked this person before Chris, but I wanted to give I wanted to throw the chat a bone. What do you want from me? So the next person I'm going to pick it has to be Suzanne. Of the people left on the board, I feel like the only person that could actually win the game is Suzanne. There are some drawbacks to her, but let's talk about the positives first. She's somebody who is a fan of the show. She wants to win, and she'd rather win and be hated or not be respected. She is somebody who talks with her hands a lot. She's a very alpha female. I feel like that I see Bill in the chat saying that Kirsten McInnes influenced Brent as far as Suzanne goes. I think she did influence me a little bit. I went back and watched her video a second time, and I'm like, you know what? I can see the path for this woman. I think that overall, she's somebody who is probably going to rub people the wrong way. But if she gets to the end of the game, she's somebody who I think will be respected by the jury. And that's the key. You're looking for people who can win the game. And again, of the people who are remaining on the draft board, I feel like this is the only person who could win the game if she gets to the end. So it's got to be Suzanne. Love her energy.
Yeah, I do like Suzanne. She probably would have been my pick if you hadn't chosen her here. She is a big fan of the show, been watching for a very long time. So I think that's going to be in her favor. I think that, similar to a lot of the other people, I think that she is like a little bit on the young side. Which could be an issue for her, but there's not a lot to criticize here. I think that she absolutely has a shot to do well in the game. It's just a matter of does she fit in with this group? Does she find a place? And if she does, I think that she can make a decent run at it. So yeah, I feel pretty good, but not better than the other people I chose.
Yeah, I like her a lot. It's difficult because when watching her interview with Ika, I felt like they were vibing really well and they were able to have a fun conversation, and it was very like da 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 da, like back and forth. And I felt like, oh, that's great, that's super promising, I love it. But then I was like, if that's the energy level she is all the time, it can get old quick. And that was my concern, was that like if Suzanne is always on and she's always talking, then it might rub people the wrong way and might like tire them out.
I don't think so, because like the promo video, she's got to be on for, and when you're talking with Ika, you have to be on for. So right. I don't feel like we're getting a fair representation of the person that Suzanne really is.
No, and I think that's the case. I mean, like my concern is just like if that is the case. But I don't think it is, and I hope it's not. And I really liked her interviews. I thought that she was very fun and funny, and I'm excited to see her on the show. So, I didn't put her super near the bottom, but, she was a little bit down there just because I was a little worried.
All right. So I'm going to make my last pick. I'm choosing between Angie, Carol, and Nico. It's a tough one here. There's pros and cons for each one, but I'm gonna go with my gut, which tells me to go with Angie. Angie for my final pick. Nice. So Angie is like slightly on the older side. She's the second oldest on the cast, but not by much. She's only 33. She says she's the biggest super fan ever. I don't know what that means. And I think one of the reasons why she was so low on my list, even though I did ultimately pick her, is because I don't know if she's actually what she says she is. She says she's a huge super fan. Her favorite player ever is Gary from Big Brother Canada 1. Her least favorite player was Cassandra from Big Brother Canada 3. Leads me to believe that perhaps she's a big fan of Big Brother Canada, hasn't seen any of the US. And if she says she's a big fan of Big Brother Canada, then she might be like a show watcher and maybe not a feed watcher. And if she's just watched all of the Big Brother Canada seasons, it's not a ton of knowledge to be bringing, but it's still a lot more than somebody who doesn't know the show, right? Also, not for nothing, the choice of who she likes and doesn't like, a little bit concerning in terms of like who is she going to play like here. It's also just, I feel like people who like Cass and Gary usually like both of them.
They like both of them.
Right?
Yeah, I was really shocked.
Odd.
So
I was a weird thing.
Yeah, like a little bit confused about it. That in particular kind of threw me off. But apart from that, she's very like friendly seeming. She seems like she's very easy to get along with. I think that I think she has a sort of, again, she's only 33, but she kind of has, she looks a little bit older, sort of like Kyle.
She looks older.
She looks older than the rest. So I feel like Kyle and
it's
her,
the haircut.
It's got to be the haircut.
It's the haircut.
I feel like
and
they might feel like a little bit more of like an adult figure in the house, but because she's not so much older, I feel like she can still fit in. I was also concerned about her talking about, so she says she wants multiple showmances.
Yeah, what was this? I can't believe that Ika
and she
didn't
kept
call her
going
out.
with it too.
Yeah, I was kind of mad that Ika didn't basically laugh in her face when she said this. Like, she was like, because Angie was like, remember how you had it with Ika with Dimitri and you had somebody you could depend on? I want to have that, but with multiple people. Like, I wanted Ika to laugh on her face and be like, honey, that doesn't exactly work. Like, how would it have been had I been with Dimitri and then I moved on to somebody else and decided to get down with them? Like, you're not just going to carry that over. Like, well, what's she thinking here? This is terrible.
It also goes against, the mom haircut, right? Like, and it's a cast where not a lot of people seem very open to showmances to begin with. So, I take this with a grain of salt. I don't know if she's really going to go in there and try to have multiple showmances. This could very easily be like a, get me cast kind of thing. Because, look at me, I want multiple showmances. But we'll see. It's a bit of a red flag. But I do like her overall. I think that, again, similar to somebody like Suzanne, I feel like if she can find a place in the house, she can get in with some people, then I think she can do pretty well. It's just a matter of like fitting in the first place. Can she find that space to play the game, or will she be shut out from the beginning and never really find her way in? That's my main concern here. But I did decide to go here with Angie. Melissa, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Angie. Like we said, with the whole multiple showmances thing, that threw me off. Her favorite being Gary was like, oh yeah, I love that, and then her least favorite being Cass. I was like, wait, what? So I don't really understand like what show she was watching, and how she could get her favorite and least favorite in those two. I'm a little concerned about. I mean, it's possible that they're just pushing the narrative of like, everyone loves showmances, talk about that more, and so maybe she was like talking about it because she thought that's what people wanted to hear. But it does seem like she's like the little boy crazy, and I don't know if I see her necessarily connecting with any of the guys in the cast. So maybe that'll just put that narrative to bed, and she won't talk about it anymore, and she'll just play the game. Or maybe she'll try with multiple guys and maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, who knows. But it just seems weird that seems to be the main focus of her game. And so I was a little on the fence about her. I liked her personality, though. I thought she was fun. I thought she was funny. I thought she was entertaining. But the gameplay, I don't know if it's there.
Yeah, her personality is like top of the world. Like I instantly felt like I could get to know her and want to be friends with her. And I don't feel like she would overly be plotting behind my back. But her lack of knowledge of the show was so concerning to me, to the point where I don't realize that she doesn't realize that having a multiple showmance game on its face is just dumb. Like, it's dumb. I can't believe Ika didn't basically tell her she was dumb. But maybe Ika thinks that's not her place. But she sounded so dumb when she was saying this. So I didn't fill me with a lot.
I think they tell Ika not to like critique their games or anything.
Not to laugh at the contestants like I would.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, I feel like it's like if they say like, this is my strategy going in, and Ika's like, that's a terrible strategy. Why are you doing that? It's like that would influence the game and influence people. So I think that's probably why she doesn't say anything, because there are many times in the interviews that I'm like, Ika, tell them that's stupid. I could tell them that like this is what they should be doing instead. But it's like, she can't really influence it like that.
All right. So, Melissa, you have the final pick. You're going to be choosing between Carol and Nico.
Oh, boy. Also, the chat just reminded me last year when I was choosing between Anthony and a player that might not even make it into the game. And I was like, I don't know. I was like so torn. And Anthony ends up being this amazing player. So clearly, I don't necessarily have the best judgment in these things. But hopefully it goes better for me this year. I am going to go with Carol. I really liked Carol in her interviews. I thought she was great. I'm a little worried about, the fact that she might not fit in, or she might stand out because, like her age or whatever. Also, she said that she's a loud personality, which like, I don't know if that's a loud personality in a good way or a loud personality in a way that might rub people the wrong way. Also, I loved her interview. I loved everything about her. I felt like she was a great character, but also I felt like she was really intelligent and would play the game well. But I'm worried that they might not give her that chance to play. And that's what scares me. So that's the only reason why I'm picking her last. I mean, honestly, after my initial watch of all the videos, I was like, Carol's my number one. I want to pick her. And then I was like, oof, I don't know. And now I'm worried. So that's why she's so low, but it's not because of anything that she has done. It's just about I'm worried about her fitting in with this particular cast. And also, like, in choosing between her and Nico, Nico is a total no for me. He said that he might have trouble with the females. He literally just called them females, and it was like, ugh, gross. It made me shudder. And then he said that he like leads girls on, like they think that he likes them, and then like he doesn't, so then they get mad at him or something. And Ika's like, so you lead them on, and he's like, it's like, that's so annoying. He likes Paul, which I guess is good. It means that he knows the game. However, he just comes across as really cocky and just really not a fun guy to be around. And he talks about how he's got like two like dueling personalities, and like he doesn't know if this version of him is going to come out or something. And that scares me. It's like, I just didn't like him. So that is why I picked Carol, and I like her a lot. So let's see what she can do.
Yeah, Carol, I think, definitely has potential, but I typically avoid, as much as I sometimes enjoy the person who is older on the cast, and she's not even that old. She's 44.
She's younger than me.
To Angie's 33. So she's only 11 years older than the next oldest person. Right. But it's still a gap, right? Mm-hmm. And she's the only person in her 40s on the cast, and it is going to make an impact. And just historically, the person who's older, whether it's by 10 years or whether it's by 30 years, just generally is not going to find much success on the show unless they have Eric Stein working for them. So generally, it's just not the best pick statistically. So that's why I usually am not going to go for them. Carol, though, she's seen the show. She says she's not a super fan. She hasn't seen the feeds or anything, but she has watched a lot of seasons. And so I think that she can do fine. If she's given time to get her footing, I think that she can stick around for a while. I don't think she'll be seen as particularly threatening unless she starts playing an aggressive game, which I actually could see from her, which is both good and bad, because it could take her out early, but it could also help her win if she gets toward the end. So I wouldn't count her out by any means, really. I think that she absolutely can win the game. Just for me, I'm just usually not going to, it's just statistically, it's just not usually the case that this person is going to do very well. And then when it comes to Nico, yeah, there was a lot of red flags there for Nico. His interview with Aiko was just really not great. He couldn't decide like who he was. Like he kept saying like, obviously I'm gonna be targeted because I'm so intense and over the top and aggressive, and so that's how it's gonna be when I go into the house because I'm just so driven, and it's just gonna it's gonna be wild, and I'm really not, I'm not sure. I gotta tone it down when I go into the house. I'm just like, who are you? What is this?
Like, what do you mean tone it down? You're already like low.
And so I really, but I think it exists. I do think it exists. I think that he is an intense guy, right? And I think that it might come out. And I just, he strikes me as the kind of player who gets into the house and immediately starts making final two deals because he wants to be playing the game. His, as you mentioned, favorite player is Paul, not Paul Jackson, but Big Brother 18 and 19 Paul. He felt like Paul was robbed, and he really thinks that I got to go in there and play hard. And now, don't get me wrong, Godfrey is a player who went in there making final two deals right off the bat. He turned it around. He did very well by the end. But it's a hard place to start from if you have that kind of intensity. And I get a lot of bad vibes in terms of his chances to do well in the game. That said, if he's able to calm down, if he's able to recover, if he's able to sort of like chill and be normal, because when I talk about his interview with Ica, it's not that he was too calm when he was talking about being intense. It was that he was very intensely calm. Mm-hmm. Right? Like there was something weird going on in that interview. Yeah. And so I'm not sure. He could absolutely surprise us here, but I am pretty low on him. That said, I probably would have chosen him over Carol.
Yeah, only because I see a universe where Nico could get to the end and win. I don't see a universe where Carol could get to the end. I think they would never let her get to the end of the game because they would fear her winning so much. She's such a great gal. She's so lovable. She has the respect of the house, likely by the time she would get to the end of the game. I just don't think that they would allow that to happen. Whereas I do feel like somebody like Nico could just, what the fuck their way to the end of the game and walk away with a win somehow. Obviously, I said what I said about Carol. I think she's great. She's driven. She's excited. She's a fan of the game. But her age difference, like so often on Big Brother Canada, they get rid of the person who is the oldest person in the house right away. That just so happens so often on Big Brother Canada. So, not great there. Maybe she can survive the first week, and then maybe by then she has her foot in the game. We'll see. As far as Nico goes, he just rubbed me completely the wrong way. But I guess I'll be like Rob. I'll paint the picture where Nico could survive. So Nico does rub some people the wrong way. He's seen, though, as a bit of a doofus by everybody else. Someone who actually knows what they're doing, takes him under their wing, and uses him as a vote and tells him what the fuck to do and says, do this and shut up. And maybe he can do something like that. But overall, I was with Melissa. I was not impressed by Nico at all. And he doesn't even seem like he would be that good of TV. He seems like I was with Taran in terms of like, who are you? Like, what is your, like, everybody has a truth that they are when they enter the Big Brother house. Even though Chris was like a bit of a character, I could still feel what his truth was. I could never do that with Nico.
Yeah, they're mentioning in the chat as well. Oddly came for Anthony in his interview with Ica. Says that it was a fluke that he got as far as he did.
Which shows me he knows nothing about Anthony. Nothing whatsoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Praises Paul to the nines, but doesn't like Anthony. They had somewhat similar games. So, so, what are you going to do?
And similar starting points, too.
And similar flaws in their game.
Yeah.
So that's our cast. That's what we've got. Yeah, make sure you continue to follow along. As I said, we will start our live recap coverage Thursday night after the second episode of the season. We'll start our Big Brother live feed updates Thursday morning, which obviously there won't be live feeds to update, but we'll do a quick recap of the premiere Thursday morning in the slot of the live feed updates if you're looking for that. So make sure you check that out. I did mention that, and stick around. We're not leaving yet, but we're gonna get into some spoilers. Minor spoilers, but we're going to get into some spoilers. So I want to let you know what you have to look out for over the course of the season. The Stock Watch has been revamped once more. I have been working very hard on a new, you might call it a formula, you might call it magic.
Magic!
It's basically works like magic. So it'll function similarly. Good players will do well, bad players will do poorly, and it shouldn't confuse you too much. It should usually make sense, the jumps that will happen in the stock watch. So if you haven't played or seen this before, we rate the players every single week, 1 out of 10, given their chance to win, how they're doing, similar kind of metrics. We also poll the audience, so you can participate in this as well. We take the average of that rating, and then based on those average ratings, we formulate a price, and you can buy shares or sell shares of players as we go throughout the season, and the person who makes the most amount of money across the entire season wins. And you can play along with us at home. And this season, it's going to be even easier, much easier to play along at home, because we will be putting a website up dedicated to the stock watch, where you can go and make your purchases. It will do the math for you, so you just choose who you want to do. It will keep track of your money. It will tell you, where you are on the leaderboard and all of this stuff. It's still a work in progress. We will be adding features as we go. It's starting out right now, kind of bare bones, but it does what it needs to do, and I'm very excited about it. So stay on the lookout for the stock watch this season. Should be a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, people are always tweeting me like, how can I get involved in the stock watch? Like, do I need to sign up? Do I need to do this? And I'm like you don't need to be like a patron of Rob as a podcast. Like, anybody can play. So this just be clear, this season, are they going to need to sign up on a website to be a part of it, or so
on the roundtable, I will tell you where to go, where to find the site. You can create an account. You sign in with Twitter or Facebook or whatever you want to do. It's very easy. Right away, you'll just be right in there. You'll get your starting money, and you can buy and sell to your heart's content, to delight, whatever.
Your heart's content and delight.
Your heart's content and delight. So it should be very easy. It should be very fun. I hope everyone tries it out. Very much looking forward to it. And also, what this allows us to do, hopefully in the future, is keep historical data as well. As like, if you were the winner of a particular season, then you're gonna keep that little medal.
Melissa, I have to tell you that you were talking about, you're like, do you find every guy in this cast hot? And I'm like, yeah, actually I do. Braden from Sequester said that Brent is starting the new segment called Cockwatch this year.
Oh my God.
And then I started laughing at it, and then I put it down, and then I read it again, and I started laughing at it again, and just it's one of those things that just it just tickled me. Very good.
He'll have his own website for that.
I like that. That's little
separate
pun. That was very good. Well done.
Yeah. All right. Well, also, as you guys know, Survivor Winners at War is currently airing as well. Yes. And I have tossed my hat in the ring with a Survivor update podcast, modeled in the same form as the Big Brother live feed updates, with a little bit of roundtable-ness in there as well. We have the Legacy Watch happening as Survivor, the winners season, is going along. I just talked to Kevin Martin this past Thursday about the most recent. Thank you. Yeah, we got a lot of great feedback for that podcast. People really seem to enjoy it. This coming week, I will have Andy Heron will be joining me, another Big Brother winner, to talk Survivor this week. So check that out as well. You can find it on the RHAP YouTube channel and the RHAP Ups podcast feed. So check all that out. Anything else that we need to mention before we get into the spoilers that we know of here?
I think we're good.
All right. So, as I said, we do have some spoilers. They taped the premiere, so we know what happened in the premiere of the show. They're relatively minor spoilers. I tweeted this out. I don't think it'll really ruin much for you to know what happened here. Basically, what was when we still haven't spoiled anything, but I'm now going to tell you what the spoilers spoil, but not the content of the spoilers. So if you want to know what the spoilers were without knowing the details, you can stay. If not, thanks for joining us. Follow me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. Brent is at OneLuckyK. Melissa at It's Melissa with 3 A's. And please come back on Thursday morning. But if you want to hear what they were, basically, they said that there was a vote that happened when the cast was released. It was up for about 3 days, where people were able to choose to essentially save as many house guests as they wanted. And the house guests with the least amount of votes were going to be in danger. And so the basics, most of what was spoiled here is the result of this vote. We know who received the least amount of votes and what kind of danger that puts them in. So if you don't want to know this, then now is your time to leave. Again, come back and hang out with us later. But it's not really a huge deal here. It's not spoiling who ultimately is evicted. So it's just telling you a number of people who are now in danger and what that means. And it's really not going to be that much of a spoiler, but you now have been warned.
That without telling you what's going to happen and who's in danger, I actually love this twist. I really do. Just the way the mechanics of it are going to work. And how many chances people are going to get to save themselves. I really am on board for this. So again,
this is a much better twist than all of our other twists. Like if we're gonna have a twist before the game starts, like this one at least gives people a chance. So
yeah. So anyway, this is your last chance. If you don't want to know who we're going to be talking about, get out. Spoiler song.
All right. I did not have the spoiler song ready for you guys, but I will play it in the future. I promise.
This is a spoiler.
All right. So what we know from the premiere is that there are 4 people who received the least amount of votes, and those people are in danger. Those 4 people are Mingli, Chris, Suzanne, and Nico. And just in case you want the visual here, that's Mingli, Chris, Suzanne, and yes, that is 3 of them on Brent's team.
I didn't even realize that.
Right?
And Nico.
I didn't either until they pointed it out to me. Yeah.
Yikes. So Brent is like he's like 75% chance of losing someone.
Yes. And I will quickly say that was one of the main reasons that Suzanne was not chosen by me prior to the final round. I actually don't know if I would have chosen Suzanne over Hira or Kyle, but she would have been more in contention if that had been the case. I would have chosen her over Angie or Carol if I had had the chance.
Same. I really liked her a lot, and I wanted to put her higher in my list, but I knew about the spoiler, and I was just like, oof.
People are asking me, like, Brent, why did you pick all these people who you knew were in danger? And I did know that they were in danger. Basically, I'm sort of in denial that Min Lee is in danger here. I'm like, you know what? She's gonna be fine. And you know what? As Hamza, I don't know if it was a real Hamza, but somebody named Hamza was in the chat earlier and said that, why would you pick all these people? I'm like, well, they all can't go home. Some of these people we know,
one of them are gonna go home.
Only one person can go home the first week because of this twist. So
maybe it'll be Nico and he'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. If Nico goes home, we'll be freaking great.
And then we'll each have 5 and we'll just be good to go.
The reason I love this twist is the fact that there is, first of all, the other things that we learned is that there is no HOH. Okay,
correct.
There's no HOH the first week. So that first HOH that we always talk about and how much power or not power that person has, not even on the table right now, okay? Nobody is HOH the first week. There is also no veto competition. So there's no veto winner this week. They are going to have a series of 3 different challenges or tasks, I guess you would say.
Well, it's basically 2 competitions and then a vote, right?
Yeah, the way they phrased it to me was it's the 3 hurdles you have to use to save yourself. The first hurdle is physical, the second one is mental, and the last one is social. So again, first person who wins the first physical competition, that person is going to be safe, and so that's down to 3. The person who wins the mental competition is going to be safe. Now you're down to 2. Of those 2 people, they become the 2 nominees for the week, and it is my understanding that the 14 people in the house will vote. Now, if there is a tie, I'm sure they have a mechanism to break that. But I really love the fact that the first week is going to test people's physical, mental, and social capabilities in order to give us the first boot. And again, it's not like they moved in like 4 or 5 days ago. So we're not getting the first boot until, like 3 days from now. So that's an entire week that somebody gets to live in the house. So I'm pretty psyched about that.
Yeah, I think the closest analog is from Big Brother 19 when you had the friendship bracelets, followed by like a competition, followed by a vote. It's similar to that, right? So we know that the first competition, which they say is based around strength. We saw a preview of that on the ET Canada special. Ica participated in it. You're basically standing there and like holding up a car by a rope. It's not a real car. You're basically just standing there holding a rope of some sort.
You just have to hold up a car. It's like super easy. Like everyone can do it. Not a big deal.
Right. So you're standing there. You're holding a rope. I don't know if they're going to weigh them differently. Ica's co-host was like, hey, do these really weigh the same? And, you'd sort of expect Ica's to weigh a little bit differently if they're doing it based on weight class. So I don't know if they're going to be weighted differently or if it's going to all be the same weight. That's going to make a dramatic difference in the outcome of that competition. But theoretically, you would expect somebody like, Kyle, or even Nico to some degree, but like these really big, strong guys to be able to do well in the strength competition. But that might not be the case if it is tiered to different weight classes. But that we know that as the first competition. The second competition, they said, is some kind of mental competition. Maybe it's a quiz of some sort. Maybe it's a puzzle. Who knows? But theoretically, anybody can win those. Generally, they're a lot more evenly spread in terms of the outcome for those. And then after that, so I would imagine the winner of the first competition, safe. The winner of the second competition, safe. Then, final two left, they are now on the block, and there's going to be a vote to evict one of those players. So theoretically, you have two chances to save yourself.
Yep.
Instead of two chances to HOH and veto. But so there you go. That's how it's gonna work. No HOH, no veto, and the only thing that's different, or the main thing that's different than Big Brother 19, is that this person will not be leaving night one. They are still there. The vote is happening, I guess, probably Thursday, which means they had almost a week to prepare and to campaign and stuff. So a lot more analogous to a true first boot than something like Big Brother 19, but following a similar formula.
Honestly, I kind of like it because, like even just generally, because, normally the first boot, it always is like, oh, who stands out? Who's unique? Like who's not really fitting in? Like who can we just like toss out the door? As like even the people who are nominated. And then they have to compete to save themselves, and then they vote. But like that's just a normal scenario without a twist. And then, but with this twist, it gives it so like Canada, America, whatever, votes on the people. And I feel like the people who stand out aren't necessarily going to be the people that get the lowest amount of votes. It's going to be the people that like we didn't really like, and so it increases the chances, supposedly, the people that we don't like might go home the first week rather than people that like are just different. And so I feel like that's pretty cool because it still gives them the chance to campaign and save themselves. It still gives them the chance to compete to save themselves, but it makes it less likely that someone like Carol, maybe, who might be an easy boot, like, okay, just that's fine. Like she's older, whatever, get her out. It's easy. We can all agree upon it. It makes that less likely. So I kind of like it. I mean, we'll see how it plays out, but from just hearing about it, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Taran and I are probably in agreement that, on balance, we would just like a regular week of Big Brother to start. I mean, how amazing would that be to just have a regular HOH with the regular person?
What a relief that would be.
Right. But given the fact that they are like intent on doing something, the premiere, I think this is probably an okay way to go. Like I said, physical, one mental, and if not, then you have to survive on your social wits. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and I will say about the results of this vote, I think this is just really further confirming the theory that that was founded at when Kirsten was not voted into the Big Brother Canada House, which is that the Canadian audience, the preseason general Canadian audience, really does not enjoy villains.
It's so sad because villains are so fun.
Right. Min Lee here in her, video is very aggressively villainous and gets the least amount of votes. Chris, which is, fairly villainous, least amount of votes. Nico is like, I'm a rough dude and I'm gonna be mean and it's gotta tone it down. Like, he seems villainous, least amount of votes. Suzanne is really the only one who I felt like probably got the least amount of votes just by the nature of just not really standing out amongst the crowd. And the style of vote really did.
Her video, they made her look bad by like doing that segment where it was like her just like talking and talking and talking and talking. Like, that doesn't make her look good. Like, where it was like fade in, like of her talking about another topic, fade in about her talking. Like, you didn't get to know her, you just got to know like, oh, this girl's annoying. But I don't think she's annoying. But they just made her look like that.
Yeah, they really went out of their way to throw her under the bus. That was what I didn't like about the fact that it was dependent on these videos, because these videos are so overly produced that like they can make you look any way that they want to make you look, as we saw with Kirsten McInnes on her season. They can make you look any way they want. So yeah, you were kind of at the mercy of the producers. I'm really bummed that my girl Min Lee, I'm gonna figure out how to pronounce her name exactly. I've tried to listen to it. Is there a G sound in there or not? But I don't know. Min Lee, I love her. She's feisty. She's my kind of chick. But she's got to survive this first week. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. I've kind of been assuming that one of these big guys is going to win that strength competition. Again, that might not be true, but if it is the case, then we might see something like Nico or Chris is safe by the time the puzzle comes around.
Chris wins it. Yes. Then Min Lee wins the mental competition, and it's Suzanne and Nico. Yeah, in the final two.
Strong guy.
Everybody saves Suzanne and Nico bye.
I will say, again, a lot of big, strong guys in the cast. Some of the other spoilers that came out, if we want to go a little bit beyond this, very minor stuff, very, very initial sort of, this stuff could very easily not be true by the time the feeds come on. But we did see that, I believe it was Kyle and who was the other one?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know that you were going to test us.
Man, I can't remember. I can't remember now. There were two guys that made a final two. It was Kyle and somebody else.
I thought Michael was involved.
It might have been Michael. Was it Chris?
Come on, chat. This usually has all the answers.
Genuinely, like, I put so little stock into this information. That's why I didn't bother remembering it, because I don't expect it to be.
Every single time, it's like we hear about these, like, oh, they were talking in a room, and then it turns out that that's like the stupid alliance that no one actually goes with, and it's just like, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and of course, certainly last time there was the pretty boys, but it usually doesn't work out like that. Maybe a little bit more likely in Big Brother Canada. We did see the first 5 be a thing, but
just to be clear, they taped this episode of Big Brother Canada for the premiere like a couple days ago, right? Like 5 days ago or whenever, and they had them move into the house and they told them about the vote. And like people were in the audience to watch this, and they got to see the results of all of that. Is that the way I understand it? And then they're going to air that next week or this coming week, I guess.
On Wednesday.
And then we're going to see the results of everything on Thursday, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right, that's just odd that they would tape something like a week ago and then air it like not,
So I believe it was Chris and Kyle made some kind of final 2, and then they have also teamed up maybe a bit with Michael and Sheldon to make some kind of guys alliance, but they did also talk about bringing some women into it.
Oh, well, that's nice.
So yeah, but But what I think what this says is that there is an instinct with these big guys to stick together. And I think that could mean that if somebody like Chris or even perhaps Nico is up on the block next to a woman, we might see these big guys trying to stick together to prevent the start of a landslide where the big guys are targeted, right? So that's something that worth thinking about, I think.
Yeah.
But we also have players like Brooke and Rianne who are very anti-big alpha guy, and so I think they will probably be leading the charge against one of the guys if they are sitting there as one of the two nominees. So we could see some gender war happening in the opening week here of Big Brother Canada, depending on who ends up on that block, and of course tons of other factors. So pure speculation. We did I believe somebody also talked about, I think Rianne was talking about aligning with somebody, but now I can't find that either.
Oh, well, we don't care. Again, this is going to change by the time we actually start watching the feeds. You know it is. So, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that's we have I think we have a decent amount to look forward to here. Certainly I think this sort of, the guys are getting together, it's scary to hear, but again, you don't usually have to put too much stock into this. Things, I think that the fact that there's not an HOH in the first week is going to be pretty major as well. In terms of like, usually the first HOH sets the tone for the season. There's no HOH here. So it's just going to be voting blocks. And then the following week, there will be an HOH. And whoever wins that HOH, I think will start to set the tone for the season. So we're going to see.
Yep.
We're going to see.
We're going to see. All right. Anything else that we want to talk about here before we wrap up our first Big Brother Canada podcast of the season?
I think we're good. I'm just excited about this season.
And excited to get it started.
Oh yes, I am so excited to see these people in this house. By the way, we didn't talk about this, but Big Brother Canada, like here in the US, we've got summer camp with a couple of cots out. They're in Big Brother Canada. They do like massive superhero things. Even Taran was talking about it on Twitter, how like when they're in the house and we're watching them on the feeds, it's going to be like they're actually in a comic book because they went so out of the way to do an amazing job. The art direction on this house is beyond amazing, and I absolutely love it. Of course, Liv, I see you in the chat. Arissa Love. We love Arissa. She's freaking amazing. Amazing. Like how amazing of a host do we have here with Big Brother Canada? She just gives me life, and I loved watching her on the ET special last night. Big Brother Canada, in so many ways, runs circles around Big Brother US.
All right. People want us to choose team names.
Well, I have my team name, so if y'all want to think, but
okay,
I got it from Braden. So I think it was Braden, or maybe no. Actually, I asked Braden. He didn't give me an answer. It was somebody else.
What's your team name?
My team name is Team Brainwreck. That is my team name. Whoever thought of that, I'll give you credit. So just tell me.
Yeah, because he always usually does like Team Trainwreck or whatever. And now
right.
Chris's brain.
Yeah,
there you go.
Brainwreck.
It's great. It's great. Classic witty wordplay. My team, I'm gonna go with the movie monsters thing. I actually think I already used this, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it was just in my mind.
Oh my!
But I'm going to do Team Babadook.
Oh.
Yeah, you have used that before, but that's okay. I've
used Frankenstein like so many times.
Oh yeah, if it was Frankenstein, I would have had to have it out with you. But yeah.
No, I figure I'll just trade off. We'll see.
Yeah, it was the Melissa Bot, by the way, who gave me that amazing name with Team Brainwreck.
All right.
Good job, Bot.
I'm gonna do something like a little bit different. I like to really just go all in on one of my players, even if it's really not gonna work out. So I'm gonna go with Hira's Heroes.
I like that
because we've got a superhero theme here.
Yes, that's very good. Very well done, Taran.
Yeah.
Much more exciting than Babadook.
Hey, the Babadook was a good.
Babadook is a gay icon. Have you seen the memes?
Braden from Sequester was in the chat. He was like, Taran's team is Team Brooke and some fans.
Well, isn't Brooke one of the fans?
Yeah, but she's like the obvious, like the girl we stan, and then everybody else is like, whatever.
Everyone else is like,
Yeah. Daquan, My Hero Academia. I've been watching My Hero Academia. It's a good show.
My brother loves that show.
All right, so that's what we have for you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this wonderful night. Again, make sure you tune in Thursday morning. We will be recapping the Wednesday night premiere of Big Brother Canada 8, and then Thursday night after the second episode, we will be recapping, and then also Thursday. So Thursday, you got plenty of content coming from me. In the morning, I'm gonna be talking about the premiere of Big Brother Canada 8. In the semi-evening, in the afternoon-ish, I will be talking with Andy Heron about Survivor. And then after the Big Brother Canada 8 episode, I will be live again. And Rob will be with us, and we will talk about the first 2 episodes overall, but also the probably eviction of the first eviction of Big Brother Canada 8. So check it all out. Make sure you're hanging around. Make sure you tune into the roundtable. Try out the stock watch. Lots of fun stuff. Find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. And find Brent at One Lucky Gay. Melissa at It's Melissa with 3 A's. And anything else that you guys wanted to bring up?
I think we're good.
All right. So for Brent and Melissa, I'm Taran Armstrong. We'll see you next time.